Chapter 2041, Bitter Taste, Swallow Loss. 2041 Bitter Taste, Swallow Loss. U003CU003C The Legends of Renzu 003 EU003E, Chapter 5, Section 32. Renzu continued on his journey. After a while, a huge predicament entered Renzu's vision. Strong Gu was inside this predicament's body. It laughed, "Oh human, I am back again. This time, I have help, let's see what you can do." Renzu had to stop walking. Even though the predicament before him was huge, he did not fluster. Long ago, Renzu had been chased by a group of predicaments as he escaped, but after he gave his heart to Hope Gu, those predicaments which feared Hope escaped in panic. "Oh Hope Gu, I need your help." Renzu summoned Hope Gu, but the light of hope did not scare away this predicament. What was going on? Ha! Strong Gu laughed, "Oh human, this predicament has gained my help. It will definitely be the greatest predicament you have ever met in your life. With just hope, how can you possibly defeat it?" Renzu could not think of a way. At this moment, weak Gu that was shielded by Renzu spoke in a soft voice, "Oh human, thank you for protecting me. Don't worry, I have an idea, let's scare this predicament away." "You can scare it away?" Weak Gu shook its head, "Oh human, even something as weak as me has a method to survive in life. Against those that want to eat or bully me, I will often put up a deceiving disguise, to make others think that I am very strong. This world favors the strong. Even if we are weak, we need to disguise ourselves as strong beings or we will be bullied everywhere. Oh human, you can do it. Don't you have fear Gu? Isn't attitude Gu on your face?" Renzu heard weak Gu's suggestion and decided to try it. He first twisted his appearance using attitude Gu, revealing his teeth and showing a fierce expression. Next, he used fear Gu to scare the predicament as it bore its teeth, sprawling on the ground and staring at Renzu vigilantly. Renzu was dazed. "Why didn't we scare it away?" Weak Gu urged, "Didn't it jump earlier? This means that my method works, but we need to put in more effort. Oh human, why don't you put attitude Gu on top of self Gu? What is the best form of deceit or disguise? It is to deceive even yourself. By doing that, we should be able to deceive the predicament." Weak Gu continued, "As long as the predicament thinks that you are strong, it will definitely let you pass. That is because predicaments often take the initiative to give way to the strong." Renzu took off the mask on his face as he placed attitude Gu on self Gu. However, it was pointless. The predicament did not run off in fear. Renzu realized at once, "I understand now, when a person faces a huge predicament, putting up a facade will never solve the real problem." Strong Gu laughed, "Oh human, stop wasting your effort. With me here to remind the predicament, how can you guys possibly deceive it? You should not have saved weak Gu. Weak people often like to jeer and taunt others, showing a ruthless demeanor to conceal their own weakness inside." Renzu was helpless, he could only stall for time temporarily. Suddenly, he had a flash of inspiration as he said to Strong Gu, "You said that the law of survival is for the strong to eat the weak, I agree with that. But how do you prove that you are strong while we are weak? If you cannot prove this, on what basis are you allowed to eat us?" Strong Gu was dazed, "It is because I am Strong Gu and that is weak Gu." Renzu shook his head, "Just your names alone cannot prove anything. Moreover, other than both of you Gu worms, myself and this predicament are also here." Strong Gu smiled coldly, "Then I have a good method to prove it. We will eat a portion of each other, whoever fails to persevere to the end will lose, whoever is weak deserves to be eaten." Renzu saw that he could not stall for any more time, he had to take a risk. "Then we will do that. Don't regret it. However, which of us will eat first?" Strong Gu was confident in its strength, it chuckled, "So what if I let you go first?" Renzu assessed the predicament with his gaze. The truth was he had never eaten any predicaments before. Renzu thought about it before he had an idea, "Then I will eat the head of the predicament first." Thus, predicament took off its head and gave it to Renzu. Renzu only took a bite when his face became distorted, he almost vomited on the spot, so bitter. It turned out that this was a huge bitter head, one. Not just that, even though the predicament lost its head, it was still standing. The neck that was missing a head did not bleed at all, there were no issues at all. Ha! Strong Gu laughed. "Oh human, you chose wrongly, by just eating bitter heads, you cannot resolve any predicaments. Moreover, whether you are capable of eating this huge bitter head is another question altogether. If you cannot eat it, it means that you are a weakling, you deserve to be eaten by us." Compared to the predicament's head, Renzu's body was very small. Renzu knew that Strong Gu was right, he could not afford to lose. If he lost, not only would he fail to protect weak Gu, he would even lose his life and become the food of the predicament. Renzu could only frown as he opened his mouth, continuing to eat the bitter head. After taking dozens of mouthfuls, Renzu suddenly stopped, he opened his mouth and almost vomited. Hope Gu encouraged him, "Oh human, don't vomit. If you grit your teeth, you can devour any hardship that comes your way. Humans do not just need to eat food, they also need to taste bitterness." Renzu nodded as he continued to eat. Halfway through, the fear Gu on his body started to shout, "Oh heaven, when will we ever finish eating it?" Renzu also felt a trace of despair. Courage Gu quickly said, "Oh human, you cannot be afraid of tasting bitterness. Don't fear bitterness, suffering is only temporary, if you start to fear suffering, you will suffer for life." With the help of Courage Gu, Renzu finally managed to eat all of the bitter heads after great hardship. Renzu wiped his mouth as he looked at Strong Gu with difficulty. "You can choose now." Strong Gu smiled, "Then we will eat your skin first." Renzu had to pull off the skin on his body as he threw it to the predicament. The predicament had no head, it stuffed Renzu's skin down its neck. Renzu's skin was completely eaten but its huge belly did not expand at all. Strong Gu asked again, "Oh human, what are you going to eat next?" Renzu was troubled now, he had just eaten the predicament's head, it was too bitter, even though he endured the process, his stomach was almost full now. As for the predicament, even though it had no head, it was still alive and standing. "What should I eat now? I ate too much earlier, my stomach is reaching its limit, if I have to eat a lot, my stomach might burst and I'll die." Renzu thought to himself, he had to eat the most important and fatal part of the predicament's body. But which part of the predicament's body was the most important? After thinking for a long time, Renzu finally had an idea, he said to Strong Gu, "Then I will eat the part that you absolutely do not want me to eat." Strong Gu snorted coldly, "Then you can eat some losses, too." It took out all of the losses from the predicament's body and gave it to Renzu for consumption. These losses were not big, the quantity was not large either. Renzu was quite surprised, because after these losses were taken out, the originally huge predicament shrunk by a lot. Rules and regulation Gu started to explain for Renzu, "Oh human, this is not strange. Predicaments vary according to people, since you ate such a huge bitter head earlier, you will have less losses to eat, thus, it became smaller." Renzu became happy, "This is great. Even if I eat all of these losses, I will not reach my limit, it will not fill my stomach completely." Renzu opened his mouth and ate a small loss. It was so spicy. Renzu could not even speak at this moment. Continuing to eat. Renzu opened his mouth as he breathed heavily, his empty eye sockets also started to tear up uncontrollably. Eating again. Renzu's entire body was covered in sweat that merged with the tears flowing out of his eye sockets. The most uncomfortable thing for Renzu was that budding flames started to appear in his heart. These yellowish flames resembled chicks, they gathered together in groups. The more losses one ate, the more flames of resentment they would feel in their heart. The more flames of resentment they had, the more uncomfortable it felt, even Renzu's several hearts could not take it, they were going to be incinerated soon. Right at this moment, the heart of nobleness grew in Renzu's chest. Compared to the other hearts, the heart of nobleness was able to endure the most flames of resentment. With this heart to bear the burden, Renzu finally managed to endure it. Renzu ate all of the losses. Strong Gu looked at Renzu's bulging belly as he smiled coldly, "O human, you are almost at your limit, it is time for us to eat." Renzu breathed roughly as he asked, "What do you want to eat?" Strong Gu said, "I want to eat your flesh." Renzu was helpless about it, he could only let it eat his flesh. Renzu's skin and flesh were inside Predicament's stomach, he only had his bones, organs, and hair left. In this deep and eerie darkness, only Ming Yu's thoughts were flickering with much difficulty, radiating the light of hope near the end of his life. "I can do it. Come on, come on. Food path killer move, bitter taste. Food path killer move, swallow loss." The green claw ghost-winged lion was flying in the air, suddenly, its body shook as it fell towards the ground with a pitiful cry. With a loud sound, it crashed into the desert, creating a deep pit. The green claw ghost-winged lion struggled intensely, causing the sand on the ground to turn into a huge sand wave. It could not endure the immense feelings of bitterness, the flames of resentment burned intensely in its heart. It knew that Ming Yu was the one causing problems in its stomach, it stabbed its claw into its stomach without hesitation. After spending a long time struggling, it slowly came to a halt as its life force dissipated. Using the hole that its claw created, Ming Yu's soul flew out like a trace of smoke, bringing along his immortal essence and goo worms, escaping from the stomach of the beast. "I actually survived." Even he did not think that this would be the outcome. His soul was dim, after floating and moving for some time, he collapsed onto the ground. Only after resting for a long time did he recover slightly. Looking at the dark sky, Spectral Soul who was still a young adult snorted coldly before laughing to himself, "Pathetic, truly pathetic. However, in this world, who does not struggle at death's doors? I swear." Spectral Soul's figure was blurred and vague, he seemed to be pointing at heaven. He used an extremely firm and determined, yet incomparably weak voice to shout with all his strength, "This is the last time I will struggle before death in my life. From today onwards, only I can cause others to struggle in the face of death, the 5 regions and 2 heavens can bear testament to my words." Heaven and earth was silent. Going back to the present, his memories faded away as the battlefield reappeared. Ching Cho was rolling around in the air, finally, it could not take it anymore as it vomited out Spectral Soul. Spectral Soul's body was like a phantom, moving rapidly and reaching Ching Cho's back. He raised his right arm as his 5 fingers turned black like ink, it was quite peculiar. His 5 fingernails were longer than his fingers, they were white and sharp, emitting an icy and terrifying aura. "Go ahead and struggle to death. Don't worry, I will not let any of you feel even the slightest hope of survival." Spectral Soul's eyes shined with a dark light, his 5 fingers stabbed at lightning speed. Roar! Ching Cho's body shook, all of its strength surged again as Spectral Soul quickly absorbed everything. 1. The Chinese phrase for suffering/hardship is written as bitter head literally. 2. Eat loss is the literal meaning of the phrase that means suffering a loss, being disadvantaged, or ending up in an unfavorable situation. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know, report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 2042, Venerable Spectral Soul. 2042 Venerable Spectral Soul. Lightning flashed and thunder roared, causing destruction to sovereign immortal aperture. Mini southern border was ravaged by the myriad destruction lightning forest to a pitiful level, countless mountains collapsed, the earth cracked as deep crevices formed. Combat Beast King was bathed in blood as he fought, his injuries were getting more severe, the situation was getting tougher now. He was using his life to forcefully hold on and maintain the situation. Compared to the might of heaven and earth, even if I am a rank 8 Gu immortal, so what? Combat Beast King had been cultivating in sovereign immortal aperture, he gained a lot of knowledge and his strength rose greatly, giving him a boost of confidence. But now, facing the myriad tribulation, he could feel how tiny and insignificant he was. The range of the myriad destruction lightning forest expanded again, because Fang Yuan's main body had to deal with the fight outside, he was at a disadvantage. Against this myriad tribulation, even if Fang Yuan put in all his effort, it would still be a dangerous process, and yet half of his attention was drawn away to deal with spectral soul. This was a myriad tribulation, countless rank 8s had faltered at this hurdle. Fang Yuan's situation was quite unique, this was not his first myriad tribulation. He had not just skipped 2 myriad tribulations, this current one was created by the 3,000 heaven path Tao marks in his body. A myriad tribulation created this way was extremely rare even in the long history of humanity. Forced by the situation, Fang Yuan had to multitask. He dealt with the situation outside while simultaneously observing sovereign immortal aperture. He looked at the heaven path Tao marks that transformed into lightning path and cloud path to create this myriad tribulation. He suddenly comprehended something. I think I understand something now. At that instance, he realized the origin of the calamities and tribulations. In the past, he knew that calamities and tribulations were controlled by the heavenly Tao. It cared about balance, to take away surpluses while replenishing deficits. Every Gu immortal and immortal aperture was a mass congregation of Tao marks, thus, the heavenly Tao had to take measures to maintain the balance. Every once in a while, the heavenly Tao would unleash its might, creating calamities and tribulations for Gu immortals. But how could it create these calamities and tribulations? Fang Yuan did not know. Right now, this question in Fang Yuan's heart got answered by the scene before him. It turned out that matter what kind of tribulation, it was actually created using heaven path Tao marks. The heaven path Tao marks could transform into any path, thus, there were the flying frost jumping lightning tribulation, for inferno cloud tribulation, dragon roar tribulation, heavenly drum thunder tribulation, wind flower calamity, snow moon calamity, profound white flying salt calamity. These tribulations were of the various paths, there were many types of them. Gu immortals could not guess what would come, thus they faced huge difficulties. The heavenly Tao would even mimic venerable methods, for example, thieving heaven demon venerable's formless hand. All these different tribulations were merely the manifestation, in essence, they were all heaven path Tao marks. The higher the Gu immortals' cultivation level, the more Tao marks they would have, and the bigger the difference between them and the natural environment. The more imbalanced it was, the more heaven path Tao marks would be drawn to them, and the stronger the tribulations they would face. Nobody in the world could cultivate heaven path, even if a Gu immortal passed a tribulation successfully, they would not gain heaven path Tao marks. These heaven path Tao marks would transform into the Tao marks of other paths and fuse with the Gu immortal's immortal aperture. Thinking about it, back in Crazed Demon Cave, the heaven path Tao marks derived many strange and peculiar small worlds. After these worlds were destroyed, they transformed back into heaven path Tao marks. As for the immortal tribulation tempering aperture killer move that Fang Yuan obtained from Langya sect, it used the same logic. Immortal tribulation tempering aperture killer move used the blessed land and grotto heaven as the refinement target, using the killer move to connect the immortal aperture with the 5 regions world outside, influencing the calamities and tribulations and using it to temper the immortal aperture itself. Langya blessed land was once located at Northern Plains Crescent Lake. Around the vicinity of Crescent Lake were water path and refinement path Tao marks. Immortal tribulation tempering aperture killer move was often used to deal with the calamities and tribulations. Most often, water path and refinement path calamities would occur. After passing it, the immortal aperture would gain water path and refinement path Tao marks. The true effect of this move was to affect the transformation of the heaven path Tao marks. In Giant Sun Immortal Venerable's true inheritance, there were also luck path methods to weaken tribulations. For example, dog shit luck and fortune rivaling heaven. He was using luck path Tao marks to interfere with the creation of tribulations by the heaven path Tao marks, causing a favorable change to occur and weakening the might of the tribulations. In Beast Calamity Grotto Heaven, there was myriad beings assimilation transformation killer move. It limited the transformation of the heaven path Tao marks, thus each tribulation turned into a transformation path Beast Calamity instead. The exposing heavenly secret killer move that Fang Yuan obtained from Shadow Sect could precisely deduce the content of the following tribulation. Exposing heavenly secret killer move used heavenly secret immortal Gu as the core. Very evidently, it also targeted the root source, the heaven path Tao marks, to make its deductions. Thus, each deduction was extremely precise about the content. Immortal tribulation tempering aperture, luck path methods, myriad beings assimilation transformation, exposing heavenly secret. Fang Yuan had all of these methods, it was a pity that he could not use them now. The Heaven Path Dao marks restricted his actions, he could not activate any of these moves. Only by using human path methods to resist Heaven Path could Fang Yuan gain some time and opportunity to activate other killer moves. Like earlier in Heavenly Court when he used unlimited Qi-Si killer move to deal with primordial Qi wall. Fang Yuan had a human path formation in Sovereign Immortal Aperture that used the Thousand Wish Tree as the core. But Heaven's Will was not stupid, it knew about Fang Yuan's information. Myriad Destruction Lightning Forest also appeared in Mini Central Continent, it was attacking the human path formation, making Fang Yuan trapped in a tighter spot. Roar! Beast growls resounded, a large group of soul beasts moved out towards the lightning clouds in the sky. They charged relentlessly without any concern about their own lives. These were all soul beasts, most were desolate beasts, there were some ancient soul beasts and 4 immemorial soul beasts. These soul beasts were all captured by Fang Yuan in Green Ghost Desert. Among them, the immemorial soul beasts were enslaved when Fang Yuan helped Fang Clan to obtain Divine Bean Palace. These soul beasts were usually kept in Mini Black Heaven. Right now, Fang Yuan was facing a crisis, he had to make use of them. The soul beasts were extremely fragile under the myriad tribulation, they were completely defenseless. In just a while, 100 desolate level soul beasts perished from the lightning bolts, more than 10 ancient soul beasts died as well. Fang Yuan's heart was cold as ice, he did not waver. The soul beast group had already served its purpose, it drew the firepower away and took away the pressure, allowing Fang Yuan to gain some time. This included the immemorial soul beasts, without Immortal Gu, they were just high-tier cannon fodder against the myriad tribulation, but they were still useful as meat shields after all. Fang Yuan did not dare to use the soul beasts against Spectral Soul. The truth was, after Spectral Soul took control of the year beasts, Fang Yuan gave up on this aspect. A huge amount of strength flowed like a tidal wave into Spectral Soul's body. Qing Chou struggled intensely, using killer moves to attack itself manically. However, Spectral Soul endured Qing Chou's attacks forcefully as he continued to drain its strength. Soul beasts existed in this world because Spectral Soul created Soul Path. Spectral Soul understood soul beasts too well, not only could he make them loyal to him, he also has methods to extract strength from them to replenish himself. Qing Chou's struggles became weaker and weaker. Spectral Soul looked at Qing Chou with great satisfaction, the hatred goo within its body was already reaching completion, this fool was simply sending itself to death while contributing treasures as well. Spectral Soul suppressed Qing Chou while keeping his attention on Dragon Palace, all along, he did not relax, he stared at Fang Yuan's main body without looking away. The entire situation was still under his control. Whoosh! Suddenly, winds blew as the air rumbled, 2 giant hands slammed toward Spectral Soul from the left and right. One hand was black while the other was white, they were grand and majestic, containing deep profundities, it was the Qi Path Killer move, Yin-Yang Great Killer Hands. At the crucial moment, Fang Yuan's Qi Path clone arrived. Spectral Soul smiled coldly, black smoke spewing out of his body, from the smoke, 2 immemorial soul beasts flew out and slammed into the 2 Qi Path giant hands. The Qi Path hands grabbed as the 2 immemorial soul beasts growled in pain, but they did not die just yet. Qi-Si Ancestor could neither let go of them nor continue grabbing them at this moment. If he grabbed onto them, his offensive momentum would be halted. If he let go, these 2 immemorial soul beasts would still attack him later. Qi-Si Ancestor shouted as he waved both hands, letting them fly far away, bringing the immemorial soul beasts away from the battlefield. Spectral Soul's goal was achieved, he used 2 immemorial soul beasts to restrain Qi-Si Ancestor while also wasting his energy. After all, Qi-Si Ancestor had to sustain the 2 Qi Path hands to trap the immemorial soul beasts. Qi-Si and Spectral Soul's first round of fighting ended up as a simple exchange. Spectral Soul used 2 immemorial soul beasts while Qi Si Ancestor wasted some mental energy, immortal essence, timing. Both sides were evenly matched. In fact, Spectral Soul lost a bit more. After all, the immemorial soul beasts had rank 8 battle strength. But looking at the big picture, Spectral Soul's gains were slightly higher. He still continued to control the situation. Because he controlled soul pacifying Grotto Heaven secretly, it had many immemorial soul beasts. Losing 2 was no issue. In contrast, Qi Si failed to use this opportunity well. He originally wanted to disrupt Spectral Soul but was interrupted. This chance was wasted. Spectral Soul made use of his advantage well. He continued to absorb Qin Chao's strength to strengthen himself while weakening Qin Chou. On the whole, he had gained a lot from this first round of combat. This round was just a tiny projection of their fight, yet it showed Spectral Soul's abundant and rich battle experience. His vision loomed over the entire battlefield. His control of combat was so precise and flawless, even someone like Fang Yuan felt stifled. Fang Yuan was not giving up obviously. He focused on repairing Dragon Palace while asking Qi Si Ancestor to attack again. Spectral Soul focused on 3 things at once. He suppressed Dragon Palace and used the black smoke spiral to damage it. He absorbed Qin Chao's soul beast strength. He also used killer moves to resist Qi Si Ancestor's attacks. Dragon Palace, Qin Chou, and Qi Si Ancestor, these were 3 entities with top-tier battle strength in the world, yet they could not turn the situation around even by being on the same side. To speak the truth, Spectral Soul's current strength was not too impressive, but he had the complete dominance over Dragon Palace. He countered Qin Chao's abilities, and he even knew about Qi Si Ancestor's information. His soul path methods are used in succession, the moves complement each other and are tightly connected. This is an exceptional combat system. In contrast, my Qi Si clone has only existed for a short period of time. He has too few methods that are all easily countered. Fang Yuan's main body understood the reason. Qi Si clone's most common offensive method was Yin-Yang Great Killer Hands and his main defensive method was Heavenly Astral Cloth Robe. His foundation was too low. When observed by Spectral Soul, after just a few exchanges of moves, he would be able to create a countermeasure easily. Be it battle strength, knowledge, or experience, Spectral Soul stood at the peak of the world. After all, he was once the invincible demon Venerable that dominated the world. Among the generations of Venerables, Spectral Soul was publicly recognized as the one with the deepest killing intent. He had gone through intense battles, he fought his way to the top, he was an expert that carved out his own bloody path through countless hurdles. Under his venerable throne, there was a mountain of skeletons and sea of corpses. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 2043, Dragon Palace Escapes. 2043 Dragon Palace Escapes. Qi Si Ancestor, how is the situation over there? Amidst intense battle, Fang Yuan's clone Qi Si received Qin Dingling's transmission. Qi Si Ancestor did not speak. He recorded the scene of the battle using an information path Gu worm and sold it to Qin Dingling in Treasure Yellow Heaven. Heavenly Court soon gained an understanding of the battle situation. Qin Dingling was slightly shocked internally. Spectral Soul's strength far surpassed her initial estimations. It seemed like Qi Si Ancestor could not restrain Spectral Soul. At this rate, Spectral Soul might likely kill Fang Yuan and defeat Qi Si. He would also absorb Qin Chou. He would be the greatest winner in this clash. This was something Qin Dingling did not want to see. Fang Yuan and Spectral Soul were supreme demons. It would be great if they both perished. The best scenario would be Longevity Heaven going down with them. That was the result Qin Dingling most wanted to see. We have our immortal Gu house. If we join the fight, we can cause some changes to it. Even though Qin Chou is strong, it is a mistake to use it against Spectral Soul. Looking at Spectral Soul's actions, it seems that he is sure that Fang Yuan is inside Dragon Palace. Then has Fairy Ziwei already succeeded in her deductions and informed Spectral Soul? Qin Dingling guessed the truth but she was not certain. She looked at the operating wisdom path formation and calamity luck altar beside it. If Heavenly Court could exterminate Fairy Ziwei and the rest, that would be the best. Clipping Spectral Soul's wings prematurely would result in fewer variables in this battle. It was a pity that Calamity Luck Altar was here. Most of Longevity Heaven's experts came along with it. Qin Ding Ling was not confident of taking down Fairy Ziwei at this moment. Longevity Heaven. Qin Ding Ling gritted her teeth. Among the Heavenly Court Gu immortals present, she hated Longevity Heaven most deeply. Back then, she was forced to become Giant Sun's immortal concubine. She endured this humiliation and successfully switched to cultivating Luck Path. She eventually participated in the Fate War. But at the crucial moment, Giant Sun Immortal Zombie's attack tilted the balance of the final battle in his favor. Longevity Heaven, I will settle the scores with you one day. Qin Ding Ling swore in her heart. Right when Qin Ding Ling was thinking, a rank 7 Immortal Gu House flew over. This Immortal Gu House was owned by Spirit Affinity House. The first Supreme Elder and second Supreme Elder were inside it as they brought along an important person, Feng Jin Huang. Feng Jin Huang, quickly retrieve the dream realms before us. Qin Ding Ling ordered. Yes. The door of the Immortal Gu House opened as Feng Jin Huang stood on the steps, quickly using her method with a solemn expression. She had Dream Wings Immortal Gu and the modified Pure Dream Reality Seeker transformation. In fact, this killer move was created by Fairy Ziwei's deductions. As dream realms turned into human form, they flew into Spirit Affinity House's Immortal Gu House. Shadow Sect and Longevity Heaven were stirred. Fairy Ziwei's eyes shined with brilliance. Old man Zheng Yuan quickly asked, Fairy, do we take action? After all, these dream realms belonged by Spectral Soul, his attainment levels were inside them. Fairy Ziwei shook her head, we will wait for now, these dream realms are just a small portion, they are not important. Feng Yuan is our main priority. At the moment, Spectral Soul's side had a clear advantage. At this rate of development, Shadow Sect was greatly favored. Fairy Ziwei did not want to upset the balance now and disrupt the overall situation. Feng Jin Huang was just a rank 5 Gu Master, she was not even a rank 6 Gu Immortal. But her status was quite unique, she was Feng Jiuji's daughter. If anyone attacked her, it might cause Feng Jiugu to come. Feng Jiuji's future self had likely disappeared, similar to He Lulan and Bai Ningbing. But even so, with Feng Jiuji's own strength, he could participate in this fight, he was an uncertain variable. Especially when this variable was not favorable for Shadow Sect, Fairy Ziwei wanted to have less problems if possible. Calamity Luck Altar's Bing Saichuan had the same thought, he did not make a move in the end. Feng Jin Huang was heavily protected by Heavenly Court's immortals as she gradually collected the dream realms. Qin Ding Ling had a complex emotion. She eventually made this move, using Feng Jin Huang and thus, Feng Jiugu indirectly to intimidate their opponents. Since when did the great Heavenly Court fall to such a level? The pride in Qin Ding Ling's heart pressured her, but the logic in her mind told her to use all of the resources and influences they could gather. Qi Si Ancestor transmitted information again, requesting for Heavenly Court's reinforcement. Qin Ding Ling rejected his request politely, asking him to persevere some more time. Thus, Qi Si Ancestor changed his request, Sorrowful Wind Mountain Range is closest to Black Heaven Temple, why don't you ask them to send an Immortal Gu House to patrol the periphery of the battlefield? If I am unable to stop Spectral Soul from killing Feng Yuan, we can still rely on Black Heaven Temple. Qin Ding Ling thought about it but did not tell Qi Si Ancestor about her orders to Black Heaven Temple, she rejected, Black Heaven Temple is not strong enough to participate in this battle. Qi Si Ancestor replied angrily, this is a prime opportunity. If Heavenly Court hesitates and loses the chance, either one of these two demons getting stronger will be a problem for the righteous path. Qin Ding Ling sighed, why wouldn't I know that? But Heavenly Court is not as before, we need to act cautiously. If we send Black Heaven Temple's Gu Immortals there, they would only die in vain. Please understand our plight. Qi Si Ancestor felt a little dejected. Since Heavenly Court's leader openly spoke of their weakness, they were really not the Heavenly Court of before, their style of action changed, Feng Yuan could not make use of them easily anymore. While Qin Ding Ling and Qi Si Ancestor spoke secretly, Demon Immortal Qi Ju was also asking Spectral Soul, Fang Yuan's main body is here, why aren't you coming here? Fang Yuan placed his will in myriad year flying worship. He also left behind immortal Gu and immortal essence. Under the effect of familiar face killer move, he could disguise his will very well. Demon Immortal Qi Ju told Spectral Soul about this, but the latter continued to fight Dragon Palace, not showing signs of leaving. This made Demon Immortal Qi Ju quite suspicious. Spectral Soul directly replied, "Don't forget about Fang Yuan's familiar face. We cannot be sure of his location." Demon Immortal Qi Ju became increasingly suspicious. "Spectral Soul, are you hiding something from me?" Spectral Soul replied, "Don't worry, just continue restraining myriad year flying worship, you will get your due remuneration." But Demon Immortal Qi Ju did not fall for it. He smiled coldly, "Don't worry indeed, I have a brilliant plan to find out which is Fang Yuan's main body." Saying so, he suddenly stopped dealing with myriad year flying worship as he flew toward Spectral Soul's direction. Myriad year flying worship was stunned for a moment before quickly pulling away from Demon Immortal Qi Ju. Spectral Soul sensed something amiss. He quickly transmitted, "Qi Ju, don't do anything foolish." But Demon Immortal Qi Ju was firm, "Sometimes, we need to take a chance, right? Or maybe, you can tell me the information that you just obtained." Spectral Soul snorted but did not reply. Demon Immortal Qi Ju turned silent as he flew into the sky with an increased speed. In a few breaths of time, myriad year flying worship appeared behind him again. Seeing this, Demon Immortal Qi Ju laughed loudly, "Oh Spectral Soul, look, I found out the truth already. I can be certain that Fang Yuan's main body is inside Dragon Palace now." If Fang Yuan's main body was inside myriad year flying worship, he would have flown away already. But now, myriad year flying worship returned to stall Demon Immortal Qi Ju. It showed that Fang Yuan's main body was unwilling to see Spectral Soul gain reinforcements. He had to stop Demon Immortal Qi Ju from leaving. At this moment, Fang Yuan's plan to deceive his enemies by splitting up has failed completely. Demon Immortal Qi Ju was a famous demon in history. His seniority was higher than everyone here, including Spectral Soul. After sensing something wrong, he quickly tested his method to find out the truth. Spectral Soul snorted coldly, showing displeasure. With Demon Immortal Qi Ju's move, the situation got out of Spectral Soul's control. Spectral Soul was just using Qi Ju by promising benefits. They were wary of each other in essence. Their relationship was merely because of mutual gains. The reason why Spectral Soul did not want Demon Immortal Qi Ju to come over was because this uncertain variable could possibly get greedy and fight with him over the immense benefits of killing Fang Yuan. Right now, from Demon Immortal Qi Ju's actions, it showed that Spectral Soul's worries were well justified. Demon Immortal Qi Ju definitely had his own ideas. But Spectral Soul did not fluster. Back when he lured Demon Immortal Qi Ju to join the battle, he had already thought of this. But there was no helping it. Spectral Soul had just regained his strength. Shadow Sect was still very weak. Because of the many variables in this battle, Spectral Soul had to increase the strength of his side. It was thanks to Fairy Z-Wei communicating with Longevity Heaven earlier, to rope them in with Shadow Sect temporarily, otherwise the situation would have been even more chaotic. Did Bing Sichuan had no such intentions either? Was he really going to watch Spectral Soul kill Fang Yuan like that? Of course not. Fairy Z-Wei was a wisdom path great expert. She had deep considerations. She created the formation in front of Heavenly Court. It was to restrain them as well as Longevity Heaven. This battle to kill Fang Yuan was not as grand as the Fate War, but it involved 4 parties, tens of Gu immortals, and almost all of the peak experts in the current world. These people plotted against each other and schemed deeply. Spectral Soul could sense acutely that his control over the situation was slipping. Immortal Killer Move, Qi Wall. During the intense battle, Qi Si Ancestor pushed with both hands as a colossal Qi Wall formed instantly. The Qi Wall was like a mountain as it pressed toward Spectral Soul. Spectral Soul pointed with his fingers as several immemorial soul beasts appeared, growling as they blocked the Qi Wall. But Qi Si Ancestor shouted suddenly as he raised his right fist. He spread out his fingers as his palm targeted Spectral Soul from afar. Spectral Soul seemed to have sensed something as black smoke appeared around him in a ball shape, shielding him. The moment Qi Ancestor's killer move was ready, he moved his palm away and targeted the black smoke spiral instead. Immortal killer move, Great Qi Hand Explosion. Bam! Following an intense explosion, the black smoke spiral was completely torn apart as black qi flew all over the place. Dragon Palace, which was greatly damaged, moved quickly as it drew a golden trail of light in the sky, rapidly escaping. At this point in the battle, Dragon Palace finally broke free. Spectral Soul's attention was drawn by Demon Immortal Qi Ju. Qi Ancestor found this small loophole and quickly made use of his opportunity with some luck. Spectral Soul looked at Qi Ancestor deeply. Other than intense anger and killing intent, there was also praise and admiration in his gaze. Qi Ancestor had made a brilliant move. Now that Dragon Palace had escaped, Spectral Soul had to keep up with it. He had to abandon the heavy Qingqiu. It was such a pity. Spectral Soul was only a bit of time away from completely subduing Qingqiu. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 2044, Leaving Stealthily. 2044 Leaving Stealthily. Fang Yuan, where are you trying to escape to? Spectral Soul smiled coldly, black smoke oozing out of his body. An immemorial soul beast as large as a giant python flew out of the black smoke. It pounced at Dragon Palace with strong winds around it. The orange-golden light flickered on Dragon Palace as a trace of pink smoke flew out. With the movement of the smoke, the immemorial soul beast easily got suppressed inside Dragon Palace without putting up a resistance. It was Immortal Killer Move, Dreamy Light Smoke. Spectral Soul was only afraid of this method from Dragon Palace, but now that it was used, he immediately used the opportunity to move with increased speed, approaching Dragon Palace like a specter. Immortal Killer Move, Qi Wall. Qi Ancestor pushed with both hands as winds blew wildly. A giant Qi wall appeared out of nowhere and blocked Spectral Soul. Spectral Soul snorted coldly, breaking the Qi wall but losing his battle opportunity. Dragon Palace changed directions. The aura of dreamy light smoke became denser again. Behind it, Qingqiu roared and wanted to chase them, but it was powerless. In a few breaths of time, it was left in the dust. Dragon Palace, Spectral Soul, and Qi Ancestor fought while they traveled rapidly in the sky. Qi Ancestor played the role of a nuisance perfectly. He prevented Spectral Soul from succeeding multiple times. Spectral Soul became annoyed. He started to attack Qi Ancestor aggressively. But at this time, Dragon Palace suddenly retaliated as it shielded Qi Ancestor. Especially with the killer move Dreamy Light Smoke ready to strike at any moment, Spectral Soul could not act too aggressively. Thus, the situation went into a deadlock. Spectral Soul had not returned to his peak condition. Thus, when fighting against Dragon Palace and Qi Ancestor, his battle strength was not much higher. Once they cooperated and assisted each other, even Spectral Soul felt a sense of helplessness. He could not fight against both enemies. Targeting one of them would allow the other to act. It was hard to take action now. At this time, Spectral Soul could not help but think of Qingqiu. I should not have weakened Qingqiu to this extent. If it still had some battle strength left, it would disrupt their cooperation. Spectral Soul felt a little regret. He was all alone and did not need cooperation, but Fang Yuan and Qi Ancestor were different. They had to work together intrinsically to resist Spectral Soul. Qingqiu was overwhelmed by rage. Once it joined the battle, it would ruin Fang Yuan and Qi Ancestor's cooperation. Spectral Soul would have a lot of opportunities to strike. But what Spectral Soul did earlier was not wrong either. If he could subdue Qingqiu completely, Spectral Soul's advantage would rise. He would almost certainly claim victory. It was a pity Qi Ancestor ruined it. He was merely a step away from completely subduing Qingqiu, but just that bit of time would allow Fang Yuan to escape from them. Spectral Soul could not take the risk. This time, Spectral Soul had the advantage of being undercover, but what about next time? Once Fang Yuan becomes cautious against him, would he have another chance? Even Spectral Soul could not be sure. Despite Fairy Ziwei's deduction method, would Fang Yuan be unable to counter it? Heavenly Court was the best example. They could not capture Fang Yuan despite countless efforts. What was the outcome? Fang Yuan got stronger and stronger. He fought his way to Heavenly Court and destroyed Fate Gu. Even though Fang Yuan was backed by many individuals who paved the way for him, what made all of these people invest in him? Were there no better candidates? Even for otherworldly demons, there were many of them in the world. Even for otherworldly demons, there were many of them in the world. Fang Yuan was used by Heaven's will and all these people. He was obviously someone who was unique and had great value. Forget about the rest, just his ability to escape was something even Spectral Soul felt admiration towards. Fang Yuan's attainment in escaping was very deep. He had a scheming and crafty mind. He was most skilled by borrowing others' strength. He could escape under the thumbs of many powerful forces, quickly raising his strength over time. Spectral Soul had such rich battle experience. He knew deeply that someone like Fang Yuan had to be dealt with seriously. Once he struck, it had to be a fatal blow. He could not give Fang Yuan any time to rest or recuperate. This enemy was too good at making use of opportunity. He could easily gain a new lease on life and turn the situation around. Fang Yuan was the type of person who could shine with a bit of sunlight, sprout with a bit of water, or create great problems with just a bit of time. Indeed, Spectral Soul was wary against Fang Yuan. Even he had to admit this truth. Because he saw a trace of himself in Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan, defending will lead to your eventual loss. How long can you last? I will definitely kill you. Spectral Soul said coldly, not forgetting to exert mental pressure on Fang Yuan. Qi Si, after this battle, even if you hide, I will find you in Eastern Sea. I will destroy your Qi Si and kill all of your subordinates. Spectral Soul turned around and threatened Qi Si ancestor. Qi Si clone replied calmly, the so-called demon venerable is actually resorting to trash talking. Spectral Soul smiled coldly. Qi Si ancestor's expression quickly changed. Black smoke appeared around him as it started to invade his body. Spectral Soul used words to distract Qi Si ancestor. Even though this was not a weakness, in Spectral Soul's eyes, it was enough to create an opportunity for himself. Qi Si ancestor quickly evaded it as Spectral Soul wanted to pursue him. Dragon Palace flew over and blocked Spectral Soul, bearing some of Qi Si ancestor's burden. Qi Si ancestor exerted all his strength to alleviate the problem on him. After regaining his footing, he went back into the battle. It was a deadlock once again. But this time, no matter how Spectral Soul provoked him, Qi Si ancestor showed no carelessness. Like this, the three sides fought and whipped up countless storms, the impact of their clash spreading towards the northern direction. They flew past Sorrowful Wind Mountain Range, entering Intestinal Gorge. Black Heaven Temple's immortals were hiding in Intestinal Gorge. Several immortal Gu houses were concealed around Intestinal Gorge, leaking no aura at all. Seeing that the battle far away was approaching them, Black Heaven Temple's immortals immediately turned excited. Coming, they're coming. They're finally here. The battle is so intense. Is that female immortal Spectral Soul who is using the body temporarily? Dragon Palace has been heavily damaged. Fang Yuan has no battle strength left. I've never seen him in a more pathetic state. He deserves it. If not for him, Fate Gu would not have been destroyed. Be it Spectral Soul or Fang Yuan, they deserve to die. Black Heaven Temple's immortals gritted their teeth. They had a different tone when speaking of Qi Si ancestor. When we take action later, we should avoid Qi Si ancestor. It was all thanks to him that Heavenly Court's Qi harvest fruit was completely removed. He is our alliance mate. He does not know that we are here in ambush. We cannot harm him. Even though Qi Si ancestor and Dragon Palace were working together, Black Heaven Temple's Gu immortals did not feel surprised. Spectral Soul was too strong. They had to work together to resist him. Precisely because of Qi Si ancestor's hard work, Fang Yuan and Spectral Soul were still opposing each other, expending their energy. Close, they are close. Let's do it. Black Heaven Temple's Gu immortals were ready to strike. Pew! Right at this moment, Spectral Soul unleashed an aggressive killer move. Black smoke rumbled as dark winds howled. Several mountains were affected by the winds and instantly got disintegrated into dust. Bam! Chi-Si Ancestor had to unleash Chi-Wall killer move to resist the dark winds. Dragon Palace released intense golden light, shooting out a grand light pillar to fight offense with offense, attacking Spectral Soul. Right when the pillar was about to hit, Spectral Soul's body flickered as he vanished on the spot, evading the light pillar easily. The light pillar tore through the sky. It was over 1,000 feet long, creating a huge trench on the ground. At that instant, smoke rose as countless mountains collapsed. A brand new artificially created earth trench appeared before the eyes of the Black Heaven Temple immortals. After this eruption of attacks, Spectral Soul no longer had a chance to attack. He quickly stopped and continued to fight against Chi-Si and Dragon Palace as they flew away. The Black Heaven Temple immortals hiding in the immortal Gu houses were silent. The battle they saw earlier shook their minds and bodies. So this is their real battle strength. Many people understood this and broke out in cold sweat. Nobody spoke about attacking anymore. The atmosphere was quite awkward. Eventually, Black Heaven Temple's first Supreme Elder coughed and broke the silence. He purposely mumbled to himself, "No wonder Heavenly Court's Lady Qin asked us to wait here and observe the situation. Indeed, Lady Qin is very wise. What do we do now? Let's continue waiting in ambush. They did not discover us. Maybe we will get a chance again." That is right, even if we do not gain any opportunities, we can't come here and do nothing, right? We must collect information about this battle and inform Lady Qin at least. Rumble. Right when the Black Heaven Temple immortals were discussing, the intense battle in the sky erupted again. At once, the sky turned dark, earth shook as mountains rumbled. The aftermath of their collision created huge air currents that surged out. Trees were uprooted as mountain rocks flew, wild beasts cried out in pain. It was the sight of an apocalypse. Black Heaven Temple's immortals watched with wide eyes as Spectral Soul unleashed a black soul ball, but Dragon Palace evaded it. The soul ball fell into a nearby valley. There was no sound. At the instant, with the valley as the core, the surrounding 1,000 li of mountains and valleys turned into black dust that flew away with the wind. The originally lively mountains vanished soundlessly, only a huge crater was left. Gulp. Someone swallowed their saliva. It was clearly heard by the Gu immortals. What was that killer move earlier? It is so strange. There are no records of it in history. It is not strange that Spectral Soul is able to use such powerful methods, but if it landed on us. Not just us, even our sect's immortal Gu houses might not be able to survive such an attack. Let's leave. Lady Qin asked us to act according to the situation. We are allowed to retreat if needed. Black Heaven Temple's immortals looked at each other before turning to the First Supreme Elder. First Supreme Elder's expression was extremely dark. He said with a solemn tone, "We need to preserve our strength, we cannot waste it here. If we die now, who will look after Black Heaven Temple? Lady Qin will not blame us, we are planning for the future." The result was, Black Heaven Temple's immortals came stealthily and watched as the battle in the sky flew away. After that, they stealthily retreated without a sound. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 2045, Myriad Tribulation, S Transformation. 2045 Myriad Tribulation, S Transformation. Fong Yuan, this is as far as you go. Spectral Soul chased for some time before attacking again. He was very confident this time. At once, dark winds howled, black clouds filled the sky. It was like an immensely thick wall appeared before Dragon Palace. This is, quickly retreat. At this moment, Wu Shuai's expression turned nervous. He noticed that this was a soul path battlefield killer move. Black cloud spread out as Dragon Palace and Chi-Si Ancestor quickly retreated. Immortal killer move, Soul Taker Battlefield. This was Spectral Soul's famous battlefield killer move. Spectral Soul had used this move to kill countless enemies. Once the battlefield was activated, dark blue soul beasts would be formed within the dense fog. there would be countless soul beasts that appeared unceasingly. Living beings who died in this battlefield would have their souls taken and transformed into soul beasts, under the control of the killer move's user. When Dragon Palace was trapped by the black smoke spiral, there was still hope of escaping. But if it got trapped by Soul Taker Battlefield, the chances of escaping would be close to zero. Fang Yuan had Shadow Sect's true inheritance. Soul Taker Battlefield was included in this inheritance. He knew a lot about the move. But now, Spectral Soul used this move openly. It was likely that he had already modified and improved upon it. In fact, Fang Yuan's knowledge might be a trap from Spectral Soul. At this moment, Fang Yuan and Qi Si Ancestor did not dare to continue fighting. They quickly focused on escaping. Spectral Soul rode on the endless black smoke as he chased after them. When ordinary Gu immortals used battlefield killer moves, they would need to cancel it if it could not trap the enemy. But was Spectral Soul ordinary? He used the split move technique to split Soul Taker Battlefield into many parts. The first part was the black smoke. Spectral Soul could sustain it and move it around without any problem or weakness. Soul Taker Battlefield was created by Spectral Soul in his early days. He used it until the later part of his life. By then, he created an even stronger battlefield killer move, 100 million slaughter field. Why isn't he using the stronger killer move? Unless, he does not have the necessary Gu worms. Fang Yuan guessed. Spectral Soul was also guessing. After escaping from Heavenly Court, Fang Yuan has been going north. Where is he trying to go? Northern Plains. If it is Northern Plains, which location is he going to? Crazed Demon Cave. Now that the 5 regions were united and the regional walls vanished, Spectral Soul had a huge advantage. Without the regional walls, Fang Yuan only has several ways to shrug off these pursuers. Spectral Soul was very familiar with the 5 regions. He guessed Crazed Demon Cave at the first try. Even if Spectral Soul could not be certain, he knew that stopping Fang Yuan from going to the north was a wise decision. Thus, Spectral Soul moved his black smoke to spread out across the surroundings, forcing Fang Yuan to change directions as he flew back to Sorrowful Wind Mountain Range. At the same time, in another battlefield. I'm done. Feng Jin Huang panted heavily as she stopped her killer move. Her forehead was covered in sweat. Using pure dream reality seeker transformation killer move like this placed a huge pressure on her. But it was done now. Under the supervision of Heavenly Court, Shadow Sect, and Longevity Heaven, more than 10 rank 8 Gu immortals watched as Feng Jin Huang kept all of the dream realms away. Fang Yuan was nowhere in sight. Fang Yuan was not hiding here after all. The Gu immortals were disappointed but also sighed in relief secretly. Qin Dingling immediately asked as she moved her immortal Gu house closer to the Wisdom Path formation, Fairy Ziwei, I've given you so much time. Right now, tell me, where is Fang Yuan's main body? Calamity Luck Altar quickly moved ahead as it blocked Qin Dingling. Bing Sai Chuan's voice resounded from within, slow down, immortal concubine from Heavenly Court. He called Qin Dingling an immortal concubine. He was referring to her past as Giant Sun Immortal Venerable's woman. But soon, Bing Sai Chuan changed the subject to Fairy Ziwei, but I hold the same suspicions as immortal concubine Qin. Fairy Ziwei, I hope you can give us a satisfactory answer. Bing Sai Chuan could not wait either. Because after such a long time, Fairy Ziwei still had not given them an answer. It was not like what she said to them earlier. Fairy Ziwei stopped using the Wisdom Path formation as she collected the Gu worms. She made up an excuse on the spot. The situation is different from last time. Fang Yuan is prepared against us. However, I found his location after all. Where? Qin Dingling asked immediately. Fairy Ziwei had already kept away her core immortal Gu. She answered, Fang Yuan is in Dragon Palace. She spoke the truth. Trying to keep Fang Yuan's location a secret now was pointless. Demon Immortal Qi Ju had his own plan. He was already heading toward Spectral Soul's location. Myriad Year Flying Warship followed closely behind it. From one glance, it was obvious where Fang Yuan's main body was. We will pursue them. Qin Dingling ordered. Heavenly Court's immortal Gu houses started to fly together as they guarded each other. Shadow Sect and Longevity Heaven also followed suit. But the 3 parties were quite spaced apart. The atmosphere was a little tense. Fairy Ziwei's side was quite helpless here. She wanted to stop Heavenly Court here, but the alliance with Longevity Heaven was not reliable, they were only allied in name. As for Heavenly Court, Qin Dingling could not confirm the truth behind Fairy Ziwei's words, but since Fang Yuan was not inside the Dream Realms, he had to be in Dragon Palace or Myriad Year Flying Warship. Looking at Spectral Soul's actions, it was more likely that Fang Yuan was inside Dragon Palace. Before they found Fang Yuan's main body, Qin Dingling did not want to target Fairy Ziwei. It was too much of a waste of time now, and in this period, if either Spectral Soul or Fang Yuan claims victory while Heavenly Court was not around, it would be a huge loss. For Longevity Heaven, Bing Sichuan also wanted to see how things progressed. He did not want to act rashly, because their strength was not enough to suppress everyone, he needed to use his timing well and target Fang Yuan. If he managed to kill Fang Yuan, the gains would be immense. All three groups targeted Fang Yuan. It was really a rare chance to kill Fang Yuan, the opportunity would not present itself twice. Boom! With a loud sound, Dragon Palace crashed into a mountain like a shooting star. But Dragon Palace did not stop there, it went deep into the mountain's interior as a result of the huge force that sent it flying. Qi Si Ancestor quickly used Qi Wall to obstruct Spectral Soul from chasing after it. But Spectral Soul smiled coldly, he moved around Qin Chou. Instantly, Qin Chou's eyes turned red as it attacked furiously. Qi Si Ancestor's attacks were stopped by Qin Chou, using this chance, Spectral Soul flew downwards. At the moment of crisis, a heavily damaged Dragon Palace flew out of the smoke, dodging Spectral Soul's assault. Not long ago, Qin Chou joined in a battle against Spectral Soul, but it was made use of instead. Fang Yuan fell into danger again, Dragon Palace suffered a heavy blow, it was about to break, it could only escape and stall for some time. The outside battle was tense, but inside Fang Yuan's sovereign immortal aperture, a change had occurred even though the myriad tribulation was still rampaging. Fang Yuan sacrificed his soul beast group resolutely, not only did they bear the brunt of the tribulation, Heaven's Will's attention was also drawn away. The pressure on Fang Yuan lifted by a bit, there was finally a chance for him to activate the human path formation again. The human path formation erupted with great might as a grand white light pillar shot into the sky, into the depths of the lightning clouds. At once, the myriad tribulation's lightning clouds froze. Using this chance, Combat Beast King attacked, scattering countless goo worms in the sky. Fang Yuan's divine sense enveloped them as he set up a formation rapidly. In order to make this counterattack, he had made ample preparations. With his deep formation path attainment, he quickly created a formation in the sky. Heavens Will reacted after that, sending lightning bolts to attack together. Combat Beast King roared as he intercepted the lightning bolts without dodging. After over 10 breaths of time, his star armor shattered, he fell to the ground while bathed in blood. With a loud sound, he created a pit on the ground as he fell unconscious, either dead or alive. Lightning bolts shot towards the formation again. At the critical moment, the formation's setup finally succeeded as it turned into a huge basin. The basin shot out profound light that had a mysterious attractive force, it absorbed all of the lightning bolts that shot out. The myriad tribulation was very fierce, but the basin successfully absorbed and turned it into a pool of lightning plasma. The lightning bolts continued to attack while the lightning pool grew in volume. The lightning pool was not special, it was a common resource point for lightning path cultivators, almost all lightning path Gu immortals would create one in their immortal aperture. It was like how light path Gu immortals would create a 5-light mountain. But this lightning pool's appearance was a huge help to Fang Yuan, it bore the brunt of this myriad destruction lightning forest tribulation. It was even more effective than the old Combat Beast King. This was because this lightning pool's core was not ordinary, it was a rank 8 immortal Gu that Fang Yuan had, Lightning Gu. But good times did not last, Heavens Will controlled the myriad tribulation to target the newly formed lightning pool. As the water level of this pool rose gradually, it was about to overflow. Immortal Killer Move, Unrestrained Heavenly Mark. Fang Yuan directly used this killer move on the deep blue plasma in the lightning pool. The plasma seemed to be made of lightning path Dao marks, but it was actually formed from a small portion of those 3,000 heaven path Dao marks. These Dao marks were restrained by the lightning pool, they were sitting ducks. Due to Fang Yuan's killer move, they were quickly refined, the efficiency was much higher than before. 1, 2, 5, 10 Dao marks. The water level of the lightning pool stabilized before falling rapidly. The lightning in the sky suddenly ceased. Heaven's Will was not stupid, it knew that continuing with this would lead to failure, Fang Yuan would gain much more instead. It started to transform the myriad tribulation. Heaven path was inclusive of everything, it contained lightning path, it could turn into countless lighting bolts. It also contained other paths, it naturally had all sorts of forms to take. Since Fang Yuan made a countermeasure, Heaven's Will immediately stopped and changed its method to cause destruction to sovereign immortal aperture. For ordinary myriad tribulations, the content would be fixed once it appeared. But Fang Yuan's myriad tribulation was special, it was made of over 3,000 heaven path Dao marks, Heaven's Will controlled it personally, it could change forms at will. This undoubtedly raised the difficulty of Fang Yuan's tribulation by many times. This is too much. As the old combat beast king woke up gradually, he had already separated from the star sea snail. Deep within the pit, his old body was buried in the fragments of the star sea snail. He looked at the changing myriad tribulation as this old rank 8 Gu immortal showed a deep expression of despair. At the same time, in the external battlefield. Spectral soul, I will lend you a hand. Demon immortal Qi Ju had finally arrived. Spectral soul gained reinforcements, but he had an unhappy expression, he only snorted in reply. He knew about demon immortal Qi Ju's true intentions, but now was not the time for internal conflict. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know, report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 2046, Falling for a Trap. 2046 Falling for a Trap. Demon immortal Qi Ju arrived and immediately attacked Qi Si ancestor. The secluded domain of heaven and earth above his head, Qi land, was too powerful against Qi path. Qi Si ancestor was Dragon Palace's greatest help, now that he was restrained, Dragon Palace's situation became more dangerous. But soon, Myriad Your Flying Warship arrived too and started to join the fight. Even though Fang Yuan faced much difficulty, he managed to drag this fight on. Spectral Soul yelled, his body moved like a specter, his palm landed on Dragon Palace again. Countless soul beast silhouettes appeared on the surface of Dragon Palace like a series of still images, a portion of Dragon Palace shattered, it was damaged both internally and externally. Dragon Palace unleashed dreamy light smoke, Spectral Soul quickly retreated. At the next moment, Demon Immortal Qi Ju pointed at Dragon Palace suddenly. Qi currents gathered, they exploded instantly. The exterior of Dragon Palace had already been blown to bits, only the main hall was left. Now that it suffered this powerful attack from Demon Immortal Qi Ju, a huge hole appeared on the roof of this main hall, it could be seen from the outside. Spectral Soul saw this and smiled coldly, not holding back his praise, Qi Ju, well done. At this stage, everyone knew that Dragon Palace was in grave danger, if they worked harder, they would be able to shatter it entirely. Fang Yuan and Qi Si ancestor could cooperate, Demon Immortal Qi Ju and Spectral Soul could do the same as well. After Demon Immortal Qi Ju joined the fight, he suppressed Qi Si ancestor and cooperated with Spectral Soul. Even though they did not have close coordination, these two had abundant battle experience, they could find ways to work together. And this cooperation pushed Dragon Palace beyond the brink of destruction. When Fairy Ziwei, Qin Dingling, and Bing Sai Chuan arrived, they saw that Dragon Palace shattered into countless fragments as they scattered everywhere. Fang Yuan and Wu Shuai, who were inside Dragon Palace, were exposed, but they quickly went inside Myriad Your Flying Warship, which came to pick them up. Myriad Your Flying Warship was significantly faster than Dragon Palace, it immediately moved away and escaped. The three groups of immortals were stunned before feeling great joy. Quick, Fang Yuan is done for. Dragon Palace was actually destroyed. Even though Myriad Your Flying Warship is fast, in terms of defense, it is inferior to Dragon Palace. We must kill Fang Yuan, we must restore Heavenly Court's reputation. Fang Yuan destroyed our Imperial Court blessed land, there is deep hatred between him and Longevity Heaven. We will kill him and take all of his true inheritances and Gu worms. We will pull out his soul and torture him for all eternity. Fang Yuan, it is finally time for Shadow Sect to take care of you. We will kill Fang Yuan first before we compete among ourselves. We must not let him have any chance of getting away during our conflict. The immortals rushed up, they pursued Fang Yuan with great enthusiasm. This was the greatest predicament that Fang Yuan had ever been in since his rebirth. He was currently chased by the top 3 super forces in the world. Most of the world's strongest experts had gathered behind him. Qin Ding Ling, Fairy Zi Wei, and Bing Sai Chuan were Gu immortals that left a name for themselves in history. There was even a fearsome being like Spectral Soul. Fang Yuan, you cannot escape. Spectral Soul smiled coldly to himself. When he saw that everyone's target was Fang Yuan, he did not chase them away, he allowed everyone to pursue him. Stay attentive, defend against Spectral Soul and Longevity Heaven. Qin Ding Ling instructed. This was truly an amazing sight. Heavenly Court, Longevity Heaven, and Shadow Sect joined forces to pursue Fang Yuan, but because of their mutual wariness, they did not go all out. Fang Yuan did not create a situation where the 3 sides clashed because they all were not simple characters. At the same time, Fang Yuan's grudges with them were too deep, the wealth that he held was also too alluring. Even if they held back, they were still sufficiently strong. Their killer moves were all strange and unpredictable. Not long afterwards, Myriad Year Flying Warship became covered in damages, many Gu worm corpses fell off it while it flew and escaped. At this rate, there is no way out. Wu Shuai shouted, main body, our road to the north has been blocked, we can only go southwest now, this is hopeless. We cannot last much longer, Myriad Year Flying Warship is much friendlier than Dragon Palace. Fang Yuan's main body was sitting down and dealing with the myriad tribulation. He instructed, go underground, see if there's any hope underground. Myriad Year Flying Warship was maneuvering in the sky, dodging Spectral Soul's black soul ball, but a large number of killer moves still landed on it. The white ship defended against the barrage of killer moves. Soon, a portion of the ship turned dim as the white color turned to gray, it floated in the sky. Next, it vanished into thin air after intense winds swept it away. Myriad Year Flying Warship was like an injured flying fish, it dived downwards, almost crashing to the ground. Follow it. This ship will break with 3 more rounds of attacks. Fang Yuan must die. If we cannot obtain it, we will destroy the sovereign immortal aperture along with him, we cannot let others benefit from this. The 3 forces made similar decisions as they ordered. Boom! Myriad Year Flying Warship dived down underground like a white meteor. As dust clouds rumbled, earth shook but it could not scare off the pursuers, they followed the hole that Myriad Year Flying Warship created as they dived in. Bam bam bam. Many killer moves continued to land on Myriad Year Flying Warship. Myriad Year Flying Warship was starting to break apart, it was in a critical state. Haha, Fang Yuan made a foolish move, this is the underground, Myriad Year Flying Warship can't move easily while we can hit it with great precision. He can neither go up or down now. Fang Yuan, you demon, you slaughtered innocents and harmed the world, today you will face retribution, this is all just desserts. Offending us will lead to your pitiful end. The immortals roared in anger. Seeing that Fang Yuan was escaping in distress, all of the immortals' morale surged to a peak level. They just needed to put in a bit more effort to see Fang Yuan die right in front of them. Within Myriad Year Flying Warship, Wu Shuai was covered in blood. With such intense attacks, Myriad Year Flying Warship could not be repaired in time. Rumble. After the immortals made their preparation, they started to attack again with a new wave of moves. Countless killer moves were unleashed with some distance between them, trying to avoid nullifying each other. The terrifying wave of attacks swept towards Myriad Year Flying Warship layer by layer. Die. Bam. At the moment of life and death, Myriad Year Flying Warship crashed into the rock in front and barged into a huge underground space. Myriad Year Flying Warship had room to maneuver, it dodged most of the killer moves and escaped destruction. It was like a drowning person suddenly breathing in some air. What happened? We entered Earth Abyss. Is this Fang Yuan's intention? Chase him, we cannot let him escape. The immortals were stunned before charging through the rocks, arriving in the underground space. It turned out that while Spectral Soul chased Fang Yuan, they went towards the southeast from Sorrowful Wind Mountain Range. Demon Immortal Qi Ju came from the east. He cooperated with Spectral Soul to force Fang Yuan to go southwest. Finally, because Fairy Zi Wei and the rest came from the south, Fang Yuan had to go west in the end. After traveling west for some time, they arrived in Ancient Soul Sect's territory. Ancient Soul Sect was one of the 10 great ancient sects. It had a long history. One of Ancient Soul Sect's territories was a huge underground abyss. The underground abyss was at least hundreds of thousands of square kilometers in size. The space was extremely large and the underground world was deep and secluded. There were all sorts of caves and tunnels, some were like labyrinths, some had giant underground lakes while some had flat ground. Countless lifeforms lived here. In Fang Yuan's previous life, endless beast tides emerged from Earth Abyss, attacking the surface and bringing disaster to Central Continent. Central Continent's 10 great ancient sects spent several years before they were finally able to eradicate the beast tide from the surface. Afterwards, both righteous and demonic path Gu masters and Gu immortals moved together to explore Earth Abyss. In the end, they found that this Earth Abyss was unfathomably deep. It had layers after layers. By the time Fang Yuan used Spring-Autumn Cicada, they had already discovered 107 underground layers. It was impossible to estimate how many layers were still left. The environment here is complex. There are many life forms. The lower we go, the more immemorial desolate beasts there are. This is the best place to escape to. Wu Shuai, who was within Myriad Year Flying Warship, realized at once. Using Earth Abyss, Myriad Year Flying Warship situation started to improve. But Spectral Soul and the rest also understood Fang Yuan's scheme. Many Gu immortals stopped attacking with their full strength. They were wary against each other, but after getting so far, nobody wanted to give up. Fang Yuan's circumstances were dangerous. Even though Myriad Year Flying Warship was not taking as much damage as before, it was still slipping towards the abyss of destruction. Fang Yuan and Wu Shuai cooperated. They planned to the best of their ability, using the terrain, but still could not shrug off these pursuers. The only difference was that these pursuers were now grouped into different categories. The first and closest person to Myriad Year Flying Warship was Spectral Soul, followed by Qi Si Ancestor, Demon Immortal Qi Ju, and Qing Chou. The final group was Heavenly Court, Longevity Heaven, Shadow Sect's Fairy Zi Wei, and the rest. Boom! Myriad Year Flying Warship, which was about to be destroyed, charged through the rocks again as it went to a lower layer. Countless bats flew and escaped in panic. In this layer, there were countless bats living around. It was like a huge black tide that had no end in sight. Ordinary bats were turned into pulp by Myriad Year Flying Warship, while alerted immemorial black bats attacked while moving against the tide. In this layer, black bats were the absolute rulers. Because Myriad Year Flying Warship disturbed them, they were going to punish this daring invader. Oh! Spectral Soul followed closely behind. He saw the endless black bats. He became joyful and surprised. Fang Yuan, even heaven is not helping you. It seems that this layer will be the place you die. Spectral Soul suddenly howled. As the howling sound spread out, innumerable black bats died. Even ancient black bats were not spared. Only immemorial black bats survived. They tried to move with difficulty in the air. Once Spectral Soul's howling ended, countless bat souls appeared from these bat corpses. These souls quickly fused with his voice as black smoke enveloped Myriad Year Flying Warship from all directions. Myriad Year Flying Warship quickly disintegrated from the invasion of the black smoke. It could not hold on anymore. Retrieve the core Immortal Gu, we will abandon ship. Fang Yuan's main body ordered. Like how they sacrificed Dragon Palace earlier, they took back the core Immortal Gu with all their effort at the end. Dragon Palace's core Immortal Gu Dream Token was already successfully retrieved. But this was a dangerous move. When Immortal Gu houses face destruction, the Gu Immortal retrieving the core Immortal Gu could only do their best and leave the rest to chance. There could even be times when they were too hasty to take out the core Immortal Gu, causing it to be severely damaged instead, eventually resulting in the Immortal Gu's destruction. At the next moment, Myriad Year Flying Warship broke apart entirely. Fang Yuan and Wu Shuai got exposed to the black smoke. He's here. I will block him. Wu Shuai stood before Fang Yuan. I said this before, your struggles are futile. Spectral Soul approached as he spoke in an icy tone. Chi-Si Ancestor and the rest had just arrived with the rest. He saw the overwhelming black smoke that shattered the silver-white light. Spectral Soul was attacking Fang Yuan's main body. No. Chi-Si Ancestor could not help them from this distance, he could only shout out in his mind. At the moment before death, Fang Yuan suddenly smiled. You fell for my trap, Spectral Soul. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 2047, Carelessness. 2047 Carelessness. When Fairy Ziwei and the rest arrived, they could only see an endless stream of black bats. In this layer of the underground abyss, black bats were the sole rulers of all the living beings. Right now, they felt provoked, they went into madness and rage. Immemorial black bats commanded ancient black bats while ancient black bats commanded desolate beast black bats. These desolate beast black bats controlled the countless ordinary bats. When Shadow Sect, Longevity Heaven, and Heavenly Court arrived, the furious black bats poured their anger that had nowhere to be vented at these three parties. Even though the three parties contained the strongest Gu immortals in the current world, they could not help but freeze in their steps. Why are there so many black bats? We need to kill the immemorial black bats to get rid of these beasts. There are too many of them, these black bats are simply endless, we cannot waste time here, our primary goal is still Fang Yuan. The three groups charged into the black bat groups, they tried to move in this dangerous environment. All of the Gu immortals were top-tier rank 8 Gu immortals in the current world, even though there were countless bats, they were still unable to match the immortals in actual combat. But by the time the immortals got out of the bat groups, they could not see Myriad flying warship, Spectral Soul, Xianxia, or others. What happened? Where are they? There are no clues left behind at all. This is impossible, we chased them according to the traces left behind from their fight. The immortals were shocked and uncertain. Calamity Luck Altar burst out with golden radiance, melting the surrounding bats, a huge space was created immediately. From within Calamity Luck Altar, Bing Sai Chuan's impatient voice resounded, Fairy Ziwei, tell me, where is Fang Yuan? Old man Jing Yuan snorted coldly, why would we know? Qin Dingling sneered, Shadow Sect, do you really think we are ignorant of your tricks? You waited and did not chase them, wasn't it because you were trying to disrupt us? Qin Dingling spoke in a sharp tone, it seemed like she was sowing discord but it sounded like the truth. Shadow Sect got into a predicament immediately. Fang Yuan, Spectral Soul, Xianxia, Chi-Si, and Chi-Ju all vanished, it was just too strange. The three forces chasing them became extremely anxious. Fairy Ziwei was also frowning deeply as she said, we have lost contact with our master. I believe that other forces have interfered, the important thing is to find them now, if we fight among ourselves, this external force will succeed in their goal. Bing Sai Chuan spoke in an icy tone, not concealing his killing intent, then show me the capabilities of a wisdom path great expert. Humph, just you watch. Fairy Ziwei said as she started to activate her killer move, making deductions rapidly. Qin Dingling did not speak but her killing intent was not concealed either. If she found any tricks from Shadow Sect, Heavenly Court would definitely attack them immediately. Creak creak. The surrounding black bats approached again, the Gu immortals hesitated for a moment before quickly attacking and resisting the black bats for Fairy Ziwei. Fairy Ziwei's body was shining in a purple gold light, aurora spread out constantly. Fairy Ziwei's expression turned increasingly pale, immortal essence was expended rapidly until her body started shivering. Afterwards, she opened her eyes, purple light filling her pupils. As the purple gold light faded away, Fairy Ziwei's pupils returned to normal. Her aura was significantly weaker now, it was clear that she had done her best in the deduction. Under everyone's supervision, she let out a breath of air, I deduced it, a battlefield killer move enveloped all of them, causing us to not sense them anywhere. Battlefield killer move? Who is ambushing them here? Humph, do you have evidence? Fairy Ziwei sneered, as a wisdom path great expert, she would naturally not end up empty-handed. She immediately split the bat groups apart as she directed the immortals to a trace of earth path aura that was about to dissipate. After sensing the aura, the immortals started to analyze it. It is an earth path killer move indeed. It really seems like a battlefield killer move. Watch me, I will find it. A certain Gu immortal of Heavenly Court made his move. He was very confident at the start, but soon, he returned without any progress. Soon, this trace of earth path aura dissipated. Only the bat groups remained to fight against the three groups of immortals. The immortals' expressions were very ugly. Some were still suspicious about Shadow Sect, some were thinking about ways to find the enclosed immortal battlefield, some were forced to fight against the black bats. Longevity Heaven's Bing Sai Chuan still held some suspicions. Fairy Zi Wei had the heaviest mood. She dealt with the black bats as she asked Heavenly Court, "You should be most familiar with this earth path aura. Heavenly Court, what do you think?" Qin Dingling was silent for a moment before she said, "Indeed, this resembles Paradise Earth Immortal Venerable's method. We have the same idea now, to find this immortal battlefield and destroy it." So it is Paradise Earth Immortal Venerable's force, no wonder. Bing Sai Chuan realized at once. In history, among the 10 Venerables, Paradise Earth Immortal Venerable was the most skilled at using immortal battlefield killer moves. His capability in this aspect was publicly known as the #1 among Venerables. Right now, the reincarnation battlefield that he created was still existing in Central Continent, owned by the 10 great ancient sects. Why did Paradise Earth Immortal Venerable's force take action? None of the immortals here were surprised. Paradise Earth Immortal Venerable and Spectral Soul Demon Venerable were on opposite sides, everyone knew that. Back then, Spectral Soul slaughtered everyone in his way, causing great terror and chaos. All of the people in the 5 regions lived in fear. The righteous path was weak while the demonic path surged. Ever since Paradise Earth Immortal Venerable started cultivation, he worked hard to turn this trend around. He restored peace to the world and suppressed the demonic path. He brought fortune to the world. Because of the ideologies of Paradise Earth Immortal Venerable and Spectral Soul Demon Venerable, they had always conflicted. To find Paradise Earth's battlefield and destroy it, the difficulty is just. Bing Sai Chuan shook his head. Even an expert like him hesitated and felt troubled. Why would Paradise Earth Immortal Venerable's force take action? And why would they wait here in ambush? A Gu immortal asked. This question made Fairy Zi Wei's mood even heavier. A dark cloud loomed over her, shrouding her face. It must be Fong Yuan. Even though there was no evidence, Fairy Zi Wei still said that with great confidence. She had fought against Fong Yuan too many times. She was basically the loser each time. This feeling of defeat was too common to Fairy Zi Wei. She had experienced it countless times. Each time she thought that victory was close, Fong Yuan would turn the situation around. This current situation was also the same. Fairy Zi Wei felt very familiar with it. Qin Dingling agreed with Fairy Zi Wei's deduction. We chased after Fong Yuan, but from another perspective, he was leading us here. While chasing and escaping, this route was planned by Fong Yuan. If he cooperated with Paradise Earth's force and created this situation, it is indeed the easiest way. But why would Paradise Earth's force cooperate with a demon like Fong Yuan? We have not seen it ourselves. Is this really Paradise Earth's force? Or rather, which force under Paradise Earth is it? Paradise Earth Immortal Venerable was the closest venerable to the current era. He naturally left behind the highest number of forces. Different from other venerables, Paradise Earth Immortal Venerable had never intentionally focused on developing any single force. Heavenly Court had Primordial Origin Immortal Venerable, Star Constellation Immortal Venerable, and Genesis Lotus Immortal Venerable. It was developed by the 3 of them through painstaking effort. Longevity Heaven was Giant Sun Immortal Venerable's Grotto Heaven. It was the foundation that he had left behind. Shadow Sect was operated by Spectral Souls Split Souls for many years. It used Zombie Alliance as the front to slowly accumulate influence and strength. Paradise Earth Immortal Venerable was different. He helped and assisted many different forces. For example, the Merman Imperial Court in Eastern Sea. It was because he did not want to see the merfolk get bullied. There was also Southern Borders Mushroom-Man Paradise. It was made because he did not want to see the Mushroom-Men get slaughtered mercilessly. Paradise Earth Immortal Venerable had the ability to turn an immortal aperture into a paradise. He helped many Gu immortals in his life. he altered many grotto heavens and blessed lands. He even helped to enlighten many legendary immemorial beasts, for example, the blue dragon whale. Paradise Earth Immortal Venerable did not just help humans, he also helped variant humans, or even other living beings that were in need. Thus, he was the most loved Venerable and also the most merciful. Even though Heavenly Court's Genesis Lotus Immortal Venerable also helped out countless living beings, he was mostly focused on helping nature and repairing habitats. The other Venerables all had offensive methods, but only Paradise Earth Immortal Venerable did not. Paradise Earth Immortal Venerable had also left behind his true inheritances in various places. Southern Borders Mushroomman Paradise was one of them, thus, their leader, Southern Borders Gu Immortal Lu Wei Yin, was also called Paradise Earth's inheritor. Nobody could refute it. Before the Fate War, Fairy Zi Wei even went to the Mushroomman Paradise and borrowed Benevolence Gu. All the immortals could not think of an answer now. Because of Paradise Earth's actions, many forces and Gu immortals were related to him in some way. There was no way of knowing which force it was exactly. Paradise Earth Immortal Venerable focused on removing spectral soul's influence his entire life. He was a merciful and benevolent person who brought peace. Would his force cooperate with a demon like Fang Yuan? It is not impossible. Didn't Heavenly Court cooperate with me temporarily as well? Fairy Zi Wei's heart was filled with a solemn emotion. The more she thought, the worse she found the situation. The reason why Heavenly Court worked with Shadow Sect was so that Fang Yuan and Spectral Soul would fight each other. It would be great if these two demons were killed at the same time. If Paradise Earth's force and Fang Yuan cooperated while having such thoughts, why would it be impossible? With Paradise Earth Immortal Venerable's status and nature, he would not do something like laying an ambush. But the Immortal Venerable had died already. Nobody knew the temperament of the force that he left behind, or even his inheritor. This situation must have surpassed Master's expectations. But there can be a worse situation, that is, Fang Yuan planned all of this. He gave up on Dragon Palace and myriad-year flying warship just so he could lure Master into this battlefield. No matter what the truth is, I need to do my best to save Master. Fairy Zi Wei sensed something amiss. She was very anxious. As a Wisdom Path Great Expert, any changes in her emotions needed to be assigned great importance. Spectral Soul had an advantage against Fang Yuan of course, but against another Venerable's force, it would not be so certain. And most importantly, this was the Venerable who purposely went against Spectral Soul in history, Paradise Earth. At the same time, in the Earth Path battlefield, Spectral Soul looked at the surrounding sand, his expression turned cold as ice. Good, very good. So you are Lu Wei Yin, the current generation inheritor of Paradise Earth? A Gu immortal stepped on a yellow cloud. He cupped his fists at Spectral Soul. Lord Demon Venerable is very perceptive. I have been waiting here for a long time. At the side, Fang Yuan urged, Lu Wei Yin, I lured him here already. Don't expect me to take action now, show me your sincerity, ugh. Fang Yuan suddenly stopped speaking as he retreated rapidly. It was too late. In an instant, Spectral Soul suddenly arrived in front of him using an unknown method. Fang Yuan, you are too careless. It is a pity you got this far, but go and die now. Spectral Soul stretched out his hand as he grabbed Fang Yuan's neck. Fang Yuan stared with eyes wide open. He could not break free. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 2048, Illusory Sand Shifting Shadow. 2048 Illusory Sand Shifting Shadow. Spectral Soul was indeed the demon venerable who killed his way to the top. Any other person would be wary at the first moment and defend against an assault. But he had abundant battle experience. After falling into a trap, he made perfect use of an opportunity to attack instantly. Undoubtedly, he chose a great timing. Fang Yuan was pursued by 3 parties. The pressure was huge. After getting into this safe area, it was not strange that he would relax his mind. Spectral Soul distracted him with words while preparing his killer move. This move had no aura or commotion. Only Wu Yong in the current 5 regions could match him in this aspect. Once used, Spectral Soul turned the situation around. He grabbed Fang Yuan's neck tightly. Spectral Soul's move was also extraordinary. It was called Soul Shattering Hand. This move could only be used at an extremely close range, it was a close combat method. In Gu immortal battles, close combat was rare. Most engaged in long-distance combat, only few paths like Transformation Path or Strength Path would focus on hand-to-hand combat. Soul-Shattering Hand had an extremely close range, it was very limited in usage but Spectral Soul still held onto it without discarding it. The reason was because this move had incredible power. Once it struck the enemy, it could easily decide the victor of the battle. At the next moment, Soul-Shattering Hand activated. A smile appeared on Fang Yuan's face again, while Spectral Soul's expression turned grim. The Fang Yuan in his hand quickly turned into sand and scattered with the wind. It was actually a puppet made of sand. As yellow sand flew in the air, Fang Yuan's voice could be heard as he praised, "Spectacular indeed. Lu Weiyin, your effort and time spent to specially create this illusory sand-shifting shadow battlefield was not in vain." Fang Yuan did not conceal his voice. Spectral Soul snorted coldly as he looked for traces, flying past the sand and arriving in front of Fang Yuan. Spectral Soul attacked again while Fang Yuan did not dodge. At the next moment, Fang Yuan scattered into countless sand specks again. It was a rare sight as Spectral Soul finally frowned this time. Lu Weiyin's voice was transmitted, "Fang Yuan, you are too kind. The truth is, friend Spectral Soul is too strong, I had to set up my strongest battlefield killer move. I won't hide it, even though this battlefield originated from Paradise Earth's true inheritance, it has been modified by many generations, it has many changes done to it. The sand puppet double earlier can deceive the enemy's senses and lure away firepower. Lu Weiyin, do you want to lose your southern border Mushroom Man paradise? To think my shadow sect let you off purposely back then." Spectral Soul called out coldly. He stared at Lu Weiyin's sand puppet fixedly. He knew that Lu Weiyin purposely spoke to target his morale, to exert mental pressure on him. In a battle between experts, every word was a contest. Especially against Information Path Gu immortals, every word they said was sharp like a blade or spear, the enemies could not be lax against them. Fang Yuan ignored Spectral Soul and continued to speak with Lu Weiyin. "Even though I used up 2 immortal Gu houses to lower this old monster's wariness, this battlefield killer move has such power, it was not a waste. Now, it will depend on you." Lu Weiyin knew about Fang Yuan's tribulation. In fact, the Heavenly Mark killer move that Fang Yuan had was also given to him by Lu Weiyin. As a matter of fact, Fang Yuan did not trust Lu Weiyin. His original destination was not Earth Abyss but Crazed Demon Cave instead. Fang Yuan did not know a lot about Lu Weiyin's background, there was nothing much about him in the 500 years of memories either. Right now, not only was Spectral Soul stuck in the illusory sand-shifting shadow battlefield, Fang Yuan was the same. Fang Yuan's 2 immortal Gu houses, Dragon Palace and Myriad Year Flying Warship, were also destroyed. He lost many Gu worms, even the few core immortal Gu that he retrieved were all injured. Spectral Soul snickered, "Fang Yuan, hide well. Maybe Lu Weiyin will let you out." He, but it is not a problem, Paradise Earth died long ago, his Earth Path battlefield cannot trap me for long. Once I decipher this place, it will be your time to die." Lu Weiyin did not answer, he activated the battlefield. From the yellow sand flying around Spectral Soul, a figure flew out, it was Fang Yuan's Qi-Si clone. Qi-Si ancestor saw Spectral Soul and got stunned, it was as if he had just charged through the sandstorm and did not expect to see Spectral Soul here. But at the next moment, Qi-Si ancestor made his move, unleashing Qi Path methods on Spectral Soul. Spectral Soul snorted coldly, he blocked the attacks and wanted to retaliate but saw that Qi-Si ancestor got enveloped by the sandstorm, vanishing into thin air. Spectral Soul immediately chased, he went into the yellow sand, but he could not see any sign of Qi-Si ancestor. Another figure approached, it was Demon Immortal Qi-Ju. Spectral Soul was about to speak when he saw that Demon Immortal Qi-Ju's expression was strange, he became wary. As expected, Demon Immortal Qi-Ju attacked him at the next moment. Spectral Soul resisted as he called out, "Qi-Ju, what are you doing?" Demon Immortal Qi-Ju snickered, "Qi-Si ancestor, since you provoked me, I will show you the true power of Qi Path." After hearing this, Spectral Soul became stunned. He thought, don't tell me this Earth Path battlefield has another ability to confuse enemies. Since Spectral Soul could perceive the sand puppet as Fang Yuan without realizing so, it was not strange that Demon Immortal Qi Ju would get deceived and mistake him for Qi Si Ancestor. Spectral Soul and Demon Immortal Qi Ju fought for over 10 rounds. Demon Immortal Qi Ju suffered injuries as he got devoured by the sandstorm again. Next was Qing Cho. Spectral Soul, I want you dead. I want you dead. Qing Cho was still insane. The rank 9 aura on its body was extremely dense. Spectral Soul's heart jumped upon sensing it. Like this, at times he fought Qi Si Ancestor, at times he fought Demon Immortal Qi Ju, sometimes, he even faced the legendary immemorial desolate beast Qing Cho. They started to appear and disappear in the sandstorm, engaging with Spectral Soul while taking turns. Spectral Soul had outstanding battle strength, far beyond them individually, but whenever he gained some advantage, Lu Wei-yin, who controlled the battlefield, would swap opponents and leave Spectral Soul helpless. Even after several rounds of attacks, Spectral Soul could not break free from the yellow sand, he could only fight them. Far away in the battlefield, Fang Yuan was focusing on his tribulation. Wu Shuai guarded him with a vigilant expression. All around him, countless army ants gathered into a hollow ball, shielding him and Fang Yuan from the outside. Within the sovereign immortal aperture, the myriad tribulation had already turned into a torrential flood. Water levels rose, engulfing 10,000 li of land. Fang Yuan's 5 regions were all affected. A large number of small-sized resource points were completely destroyed: Mini Central Continent Spirit Spring Forest, Mini Northern Plains Bone Burial Field, Contact Heart River Bank, Mini Western Deserts Eerie Fire Dragon Python, Sand Gull Soil Beach, Mini Southern Borders Become Dragon Mound, Heaven Ceiling Mountain, and Mini Eastern Seas Jade Root Lake were all heavily damaged. As for the few resource points that Fang Yuan defended heavily, they also met with a huge impact. Fang Yuan's losses were severe. There was no helping it, he had done his best. The good thing was that his hard work and sacrifices were not in vain. He had already refined more than 20 Heaven Path Dao marks. Against the initial Myriad Tribulation, Myriad Destruction Lightning Forest, Fang Yuan came up with a countermeasure after great effort. Due to Heaven's will's manipulation, the Heaven Path Dao marks immediately changed the tribulation, causing Fang Yuan's previous method to become ineffective. If this happened to most Gu immortals in the current world, it would lead to despair. But for Fang Yuan, each time the myriad tribulation transformed, it was a great opportunity for him. Because he had the killer move Exposing Heavenly Secret. Exposing Heavenly Secret allowed Fang Yuan to accurately predict what the next tribulation was. Even though he could not prepare for it amply, it was still an opportunity he could use. After all, the greatest problem and danger of tribulations was that they could not be predicted. Once they were known beforehand, their threat level would fall by many times. Of course, even if myriad tribulations could be predicted, they were still myriad tribulations. Thus, the sovereign immortal aperture flooded and countless resources were destroyed. Fang Yuan's losses were huge, but it was not a bad thing entirely. The myriad tribulation's power continued to fall, because the essence of the heavenly Tao was to maintain balance. The more losses Fang Yuan suffered, the weaker the tribulation would be. Even if Heaven's will was here, it could not defy the natural operations of the heavenly Tao. More and more Heaven Path Tao marks were refined by Fang Yuan. His speed of refinement was getting faster and faster. The first step was the hardest. Fang Yuan sacrificed all of his soul beasts to create an opportunity in this biggest predicament of his life. He succeeded. Despite the myriad tribulation's rampage, Fang Yuan already managed to regain his footing. He was slowly turning the situation around. Spectral Soul fell into a tough battle. Lu Wei-yin controlled the illusory sand-shifting shadow battlefield, causing him to be in an extremely passive spot. Qi Si Ancestor, Demon Immortal Qi Ju, Qing Cho, and even Lu Wei-yin could attack Spectral Soul at the same time. Qing Cho was overcome by rage. It was once used by Spectral Soul, but in here, Lu Wei-yin could relocate it easily. Spectral Soul had no opportunities to do so. As intense winds blew, a sandstorm brewed. Suddenly, all of the sand gathered into rocks. they flew around in their own vortexes. Instantly, countless flying rocks enveloped Spectral Soul. Spectral Soul waved his hand as smoke flew out. Some of the flying rocks melted in the black smoke, but most of them pierced through it and shot toward Spectral Soul. Spectral Soul's figure suddenly vanished. When he reappeared, he was already at the other end of the battlefield. He dodged almost all of the flying rocks, but after these flying rocks flew into the sandstorm, they turned back into sand. After that, the sand turned back into yellowish flying rocks that shot toward Spectral Soul. This move is called Flying Sand Turning Rocks. Please evaluate it, Lord Spectral Soul. Lu Wei Yin's voice resounded from within. Child's play. Spectral Soul howled as his body shook. Black smoke rumbled with him as the center, spreading towards the surroundings with rapid speed. Spin. As Spectral Soul vanished within the black smoke, he shouted again. At the next moment, the black smoke turned into a vortex that started to rotate. Spectral Soul was at the center. He released black smoke while simultaneously absorbing it. As the flying rocks flew into the black smoke, they corroded into sand before the black smoke swept them into Spectral Soul's immortal aperture. Seeing this countermeasure, Lu Wei Yin praised, "Brilliant, as expected of Lord Spectral Soul. However, I specially chose the location of my battlefield on this earth vein. No matter how many flying rocks you absorb, this battlefield can draw more earth chi from the earth vein as replenishment. Thus, unless you can deplete the entire earth vein, these flying rocks are endless." These words did not affect Spectral Soul. The former demon venerable sneered with deep killing intent. "Lu Wei Yin, did you think this move only countered your flying sand turning rocks?" "Oh no." Lu Wei Yin's expression changed. There was no time to react. At the next moment, all of the flying sand in the sky fell to the ground. A portion of the illusory sand-shifting shadow battlefield was corroded by the black smoke. It returned to being a flat yellowish landscape. Shifting sand illusion was actually broken so quickly. Lu Wei Yin's expression was ugly. Spectral Soul hid his true move deeply. He seemed to be dealing with the killer move, flying sand turning rocks, but his real target was shifting sand illusion. Now that this move was broken, there were no longer any sand puppets left. Demon Immortal Qi Ju broke out of the illusion, while Fang Yuan's real location was exposed. "Fang Yuan, how long are you going to hide for?" Spectral Soul flew towards Fang Yuan without hesitation. Wu Shuai fought to resist him, but the defense of the army ants became torn apart instantly by Spectral Soul. A black soul ball shot out. After a few breaths of time, it reached Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan remained seated on the ground. He opened his eyes as he smiled lightly. "I don't need to dodge." Rumble. An immortal Gu house suddenly appeared, shielding Wu Shuai and Fang Yuan. The black soul ball landed on the immortal Gu house, erupting with immense might. However, this immortal Gu house remained still like a mountain. It did not move. "You still have an immortal Gu house?" At this moment, Spectral Soul's pupils shrank. He frowned deeply. "If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 2049, Spectral Soul S Anxiety. 2049 Spectral Soul S Anxiety. An immortal Gu house suddenly appeared in the battlefield. It was like a mountain, but it was not tall. There were clear layers on this mountain from the bottom to the top. It was smooth on the surface, so it resembled a tower made of dozens of giant drums. This immortal Gu house was yellowish-brown. There was also a misty layer of sand covering its surface, giving it a strong feeling of sturdiness and peace. Rank 8 Immortal Gu House, Peaceful Soil Heavy Mountain Fortress. This Earth Path Immortal Gu House was obtained when Fang Yuan explored the Dream Realm. It was different from most Immortal Gu houses in essence, because this Immortal Gu house did not have any core Immortal Gu. Its core was made of immortal killer moves. Peaceful Soil Heavy Mountain Fortress had 3 core killer moves. The most important one was Accumulated Soil Mountain. This move was very special. It did not have offense, movement, healing or other aspects. Using this killer move, the Gu Immortal could stack Earth Path Gu worms to allow them to form an Immortal Gu house. This could be done even if the Gu Immortal using the killer move had 0 attainment in formation path itself. Gaining this killer move was also the same as gaining the foundation of the Immortal Gu House, Peaceful Soil Heavy Mountain Fortress. Thus, every peaceful soil heavy mountain fortress had a different appearance. In fact, even for the same peaceful soil heavy mountain fortress, because the earth path Gu worms used were different, they could gain various forms and abilities. Fong Yuan had created this peaceful soil heavy mountain fortress for some time already. He obtained a complete blueprint from the Dream Realm. He also gained a large number of earth path immortal Gu from the blue dragon whale. The truth was, he had already obtained this rank 8 immortal Gu house before the Fate War. Right now, Fong Yuan took out this peaceful soil heavy mountain fortress to change the situation. Spectral Soul's assault did not work on Fong Yuan, Lu Wei-yin, Qing Chou, and the rest could force him to divert his target to them. I thought Fong Yuan was lying earlier to put up a front. I thought he was forced to abandon Myriad Year Flying Warship and Dragon Palace. Now it seems, he intentionally lured me into this trap. Spectral Soul's heart sank a little. The truth was, Fong Yuan's act of giving up the 2 immortal Gu houses did lower his wariness. After all, without Myriad Year Flying Warship or Dragon Palace, Fong Yuan really seemed like he was at his wit's end. To think that he had such a trump card. Lu Wei-yin also felt surprised, thinking to himself, Fong Yuan was willing to pay such a huge price to lure Spectral Soul here. Is this a form of trust? Or is he testing our first cooperation? The truth was, Fong Yuan had no other choice. Even though he had been keeping this peaceful soil heavy mountain fortress a secret, it had one huge drawback. Its speed was too slow. If there was a list of fastest to slowest immortal Gu houses, this peaceful soil heavy mountain fortress would definitely rank at the bottom without doubt. Honestly speaking, peaceful soil heavy mountain fortress was the tortoise among immortal Gu houses. Its speed was only superior to immortal formations, it was simply helpless. But such weaknesses came with great advantages. Peaceful soil heavy mountain fortress had an incredibly powerful defense instead. If Spectral Soul or Lu Wei-yin knew about peaceful soil heavy mountain fortress weakness, they would understand Fong Yuan's plight. If he took out peaceful soil heavy mountain fortress earlier in the battle, he would not be able to get far, he would only be a target board, attacked by everyone. Even though Fong Yuan would have some temporary safety, the other forces could mobilize their people and gather to kill Fong Yuan together. Thus, he could not stay at one spot. This was Central Continent, Heavenly Court's territory. Even though Heavenly Court was weak now, it was still governing the 10 great ancient sects. But here, when Fong Yuan used peaceful soil heavy mountain fortress, the effect was completely different. Spectral Soul had to defend against the attacks of Lu Wei-yin, Qi Si Ancestor, and the rest. He did not forget to attack peaceful soil heavy mountain fortress in the meantime. But peaceful soil heavy mountain fortress remained unmovable. It was a true fortress. Even someone like Spectral Soul started to be emotionally affected. His main target was Fong Yuan from the start, but to get to him, he would have to destroy this immortal Gu house. This huge obstacle was causing Spectral Soul to feel anxious internally. If Spectral Soul ignored Fong Yuan and dealt with the enemies in this battlefield, Fong Yuan would gain more time to recuperate. This was something Spectral Soul did not want to see. During the intense battle, Spectral Soul looked towards Qing Chou, thinking of using it to create an opening. But Lu Wei-yin sensed it quickly. Once Spectral Soul showed signs of targeting Qing Chou, he would use the battlefield killer move to teleport Qing Chou away. Qing Chou only targeted its greatest enemy, Spectral Soul. It knew that Lu Wei-yin was trying to help it instead of Spectral Soul. It would not attack him abruptly. Spectral Soul's plans were thwarted in advance. He transmitted to Demon Immortal Qi Ju, focus on destroying this immortal Gu house. I will definitely satisfy you with the reward. Demon Immortal Qi Ju hesitated. Spectral Soul, you have higher battle strength than me. If you can't succeed, how can I? Spectral Soul snorted coldly. Who says I can't do it? It will merely take some effort. We lack cooperation. The best move now is for me to deal with these enemies and the battlefield while you target Fong Yuan. You have the secluded domain of heaven and earth, as long as you pay some price. How hard can it be to destroy the immortal Gu house? Spectral Soul's main target was Fong Yuan, but now, he had to look away from his target. Firstly, this immortal Gu house had high defense, destroying it was too troublesome. Secondly, Spectral Soul and Qi Ju were just working together, their relationship was quite shallow. Qi Ju was not reliable at all. Asking him to attack was guarding against him. If anything happened, Spectral Soul could still break out of the battlefield. it was a relatively safer option. Spectral Soul had the strongest killing nature throughout history, but he was not a fool who lacked wisdom or logic. He was not overwhelmed by his desire to kill. Demon Immortal Qi Ju also did not want to be trapped in this battlefield. He did not doubt Spectral Soul's decision to destroy the battlefield. He thought about it for a while before laughing. My Shi land can break this earth path Immortal Gu house, but the price is very steep. After all, I cultivate Qi path and not earth path. After I succeed, it is likely that my Shi land will be destroyed. But this deal is not impossible. It will depend on you, Spectral Soul. What price can you pay me to make such a huge sacrifice? What, you think I can't afford it? Spectral Soul asked. You are a venerable, you have immense foundation, I am quite looking forward to it. But until now, the true inheritances that you gave me are high in quantity but lack quality. I am quite disappointed. Humph. You mean to say, only venerable inheritances are good enough for you? Of course. Demon Immortal Qi Ju spoke openly. Only venerable true inheritances are of value to me. In fact, I am interested in your true inheritance too. Demon Immortal Qi Ju was an old demon. In this situation, he actually wanted to extort Spectral Soul's soul path true inheritance. This was a really shameless thing to do. Spectral Soul was not willing to take this loss. He replied firmly, Qi Ju, don't forget about our goal. If you do not put in effort now, how can you kill Fang Yuan? We might both get trapped in this battlefield, ending up as their prey. Demon Immortal Qi Ju became silent. The situation was quite tense now. This earth path battlefield had unfathomable depths. He had not understood it completely yet. Demon Immortal Qi Ju was merely testing him earlier. Seeing that Spectral Soul was firm in his stance, he decided to work together and get over this hurdle first. Even though Spectral Soul broke one layer of the earth path battlefield, the combination of Lu Wei Yin, Qing Chou, and Qi Si Ancestor still placed a huge pressure on him. Even though Demon Immortal Qi Ju countered Qi Si Ancestor entirely, due to Lu Wei Yin's control, Qi Si Ancestor did not fight against Demon Immortal Qi Ju. Qing Chou was actually quite useful here. This beast fought without regard for its life. It created huge problems for Demon Immortal Qi Ju. Battlefield killer moves were hard to set up, but usually, after they were activated, the Gu Immortal would gain a huge advantage in the domain. Enslavement path and formation path could allow one to fight against many enemies. It was because these two paths could allow one to gain huge strength if used well. As for this illusory sand-shifting shadow battlefield, it was created by Paradise Earth Immortal Venerable, modified by generations of inheritors. It was very threatening. Furthermore, this battlefield was created in Earth Abyss. Combined with the Earth Vein, it had an unceasing amount of Earth Qi. Spectral Soul and Qi Ju were troubled. Within the Sovereign Immortal Aperture, the Myriad Tribulation was still continuing. The Myriad Tribulation changed again. It was a flood earlier, now it turned into a blazing flame, raising everything to the ground and creating huge heat waves. I have already refined more than 50 Heaven Path Dao marks. Fang Yuan made some new progress. Each time the Myriad Tribulation changed, it created danger for him. But danger was accompanied by opportunity. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 2050, How do we fight this? 2050 How do we fight this? Along with his gains, Fang Yuan also paid a hefty price. Mini Southern Border, which was the most prosperous of the 5 mini regions, was half devastated. Immortal Succession Mountain was destroyed, washed away entirely by the flood. This mountain was a mid-sized resource point obtained from He Fan Grotto Heaven. It once had the ability to help mortals ascend to immortal. There was also Heaven Sealing Mountain. This mountain was created by Fang Yuan. It was small and unassuming. Within the mountain itself, Fang Yuan had once set up a formation to seal his strength path immortal zombie body. Other than them, there were also up to 100 mountains and valleys. The greatest losses were Interior Rain Mountain, Copper Seal Mountain, and Bone Bird Peak. Interior Rain Mountain's peak was always shrouded by a layer of dark clouds from where light rain continued to fall. The drizzling rain was not ordinary rainwater, but rank 6 immortal material interior rain. This was a resource point that produced water path immortal materials. Now it was in ruins. Copper Seal Mountain was no longer whole. It used to have a red and squarish shape. it was like a large seal was standing upright in mini southern border. This mountain did not have even a trace of soil, it was completely formed from all kinds of copper. There was mortal-level copper like chaotic sky copper, pragna copper, snow flower copper, and so on, and immortal copper like profound gray copper and ascending dragon copper. Copper Seal Mountain was so special, it was heavily targeted by the myriad tribulation myriad destruction lightning forest. Now, half of the mountain was destroyed and charred, giving out dense smoke and sparks. The entire mountain had turned into a molten state, it emitted a terrible smell. This mountain once produced domination copper, that was a rank 7 immortal material. It was a pity that the tribulation struck, it could no longer produce any. As for Bone Bird Peak, it used to have a large number of flower-wing white bone birds, filled with vitality. Now, the entire mountain had collapsed too, all of the flower-wing white bone birds died from the lightning bolts. Lightning bolts destroyed mountains, floods destroyed forests. Fong Yuan had originally obtained a large amount of musical trees from Hei Fan Grotto Heaven, he created mini southern borders primitive forest using them. After this myriad tribulation, what forest could survive? Not to mention the beautiful chi death birds or the fragrant tea streams. Mini southern border was almost completely devastated. Only several areas were heavily protected by Fong Yuan. Among them were the coiling thread caves, stalactite caves, and the dark inkstone mines. These resource points were all underground, it was easier to preserve them. Furthermore, the rock men lived in these places. Firebird Mountain was an exception, because it was quite isolated, it escaped this disaster. This mid-sized resource point had fire path birds of all kinds growing in it. At the top of the volcano were fire phoenixes that were suppressed by the formation. The sunset parasol trees on the mountain absorbed lava as nutrients to grow, branches extended as leaves grew, they gave out the beautiful light of the setting sun, it was an amazing sight to behold. Other than mini southern border, the other 4 mini regions were also affected to some extent. Mini northern plains shallow rock beach was obtained from annexing Han Dong blessed land. It was completely washed away by the floods, all of the pinkish red spirit snakes living in it died. Mini Western Desert's Hound Desert was obtained from Lu Yong blessed land. There were more than 20 desolate hounds there, they all died without a corpse remaining. Mini Central Continent and Mini Eastern Sea, even the Mini 9 Heavens were implicated by the myriad tribulation. However, Fong Yuan could not care about it at this point. Myriad tribulations had taken so many rank 8 Gu immortals' lives, in the long history of the world, countless geniuses died primarily from them. If he was careless, even Fong Yuan could lose his life. Fong Yuan not only had to deal with the myriad tribulation, he also had to face the 3 forces chasing after him. If losing some resources meant that he could improve the situation, why wouldn't Fong Yuan do it? What was more important, his life or these resources? The answer was obvious. Only by staying alive could he have any hope for the future. In fact, even if all of Fong Yuan's resources were destroyed, even if he lost the sovereign immortal body and his clones, as long as he was alive and got through this predicament, as long as he had 1 breath remaining, he would accept the result. The most important thing was an unyielding spirit, how could mere success and failure determine his life? The loss of these resource points is actually helpful to me. The heavenly Tao seeks balance, with these resource points gone, the myriad tribulation has weakened proportionately. Thus, my efficiency in refining the heaven path Tao marks will continue to become higher. Fong Yuan's expression suddenly changed. Rumble. With an intense sound, peaceful soil heavy mountain fortress shook harshly, hundreds and thousands of goo worms shattered and died. It was the move that Demon Immortal Chi Ju had been preparing for a long time. Demon Immortal Chi Ju. This old demon who had resisted limitless demon venerable in history, he had vicious methods capable of weakening and damaging peaceful soil heavy mountain fortress. If he was allowed to continue attacking, he would eventually break through peaceful soil heavy mountain fortress. It was not that Lu Wei Yin or the Chi Si clone did not try to stop him, but Spectral Soul's continuous attacks hindered them. Spectral Soul's body surged with black smoke, he attacked and defended at times, unleashing several immemorial soul beasts while using peculiar soul path killer moves. He not only protected Chi Ju, giving him ample time and opportunity to attack, he even probed illusory sand shifting shadow battlefield even further, he managed to break another layer of this battlefield. Lu Wei-yin, Qing Chou, and the Qi-Si clone are attacking Spectral Soul, but he is still having an easy time. This current Spectral Soul is also just his remnant soul. He is still injured and has not reached the peak state he was in during the time he refined Sovereign Immortal Fetus Gu. Fang Yuan sighed internally. He could genuinely feel the depth of Spectral Soul's strength. I cannot let this go on. Wu Shuai, go and join the battle, deal with Spectral Soul. Fang Yuan instructed. In this current situation, Spectral Soul and the other two forces wanted Fang Yuan dead. On the other hand, Lu Wei-yin carried on Paradise Earth's will. He wanted to exterminate Spectral Soul. Fang Yuan was the focus, but Spectral Soul was also crucial. Fang Yuan did not feel great external pressure now. His wariness stemmed from Spectral Soul. He did not hesitate to use all his strength against him. Wu Shuai joined the fight. At once, army ants gathered and formed a river of ants. They swept toward Spectral Soul. Spectral Soul split a portion of his concentration and used killer moves to resist them. Wu Shuai was Fang Yuan's Dragonman clone. He cultivated enslavement path. Even though he had not cultivated for long, he inherited the inheritance of the Dragonman race, as well as the actual Wu Shuai's true inheritance. After several rounds of attacks, Lu Wei-yin became hopeful as he thought, even though Wu Shuai does not attack often, he has rank 8 cultivation level, his battle strength is quite incredible. With him around, we can finally place pressure on Spectral Soul. With him controlling the battlefield, even Qing Chou could join the fight, not to mention Wu Shuai who cooperated with them. Wu Shuai soon mixed in with this group. Their tempo became faster as they emitted greater pressure on Spectral Soul. Spectral Soul was the strongest in the world, but he had not regained his peak strength. Demon Immortal Qi Ju and Qi-Si Ancestor could fight him for over 10 rounds even if they could not defeat him. With Wu Shuai's participation, a qualitative change appeared. It tilted the balance of both sides. Lu Wei-yin and the rest attacked unceasingly. Their attacks did not stop even once. Spectral Soul started to get into a passive spot as he resisted their joint attacks. Immortal Killer Move, Upper-Lower Breathless Qi. Demon Immortal Qi Ju stretched out 2 fingers as he pointed at the top and bottom of Peaceful Soil Heavy Mountain Fortress. At once, Peaceful Soil Heavy Mountain Fortress became immobilized. Fang Yuan who was inside had a change of expression. He could not breathe smoothly. Even worse was that his injection of immortal essence into Peaceful Soil Heavy Mountain Fortress became choppy and inconsistent. Immortal Gu houses required a lot of immortal essence to work. The same applied to Peaceful Soil Heavy Mountain Fortress. After getting hit by this move, its defenses became much weaker. A huge flaw in Peaceful Soil Heavy Mountain Fortress became exposed. It was just too slow. It had to resist most killer moves head-on. Of course, it had immense defense. It could waste a lot of the enemy's immortal essence. Thus, Peaceful Soil Heavy Mountain Fortress was suited for a battle of attrition. Gu Immortals could heal up inside and analyze the enemy's killer moves while using the defense to waste the enemy's immortal essence. Peaceful Soil Heavy Mountain Fortress also lacked offensive methods. The truth was, Demon Immortal Qi Ju could ignore Fang Yuan and help Spectral Soul fight against Lu Wei-yin and the rest. Fang Yuan was currently troubled by the myriad tribulation. Peaceful Soil Heavy Mountain Fortress was of little threat to them in terms of offense. Immortal Killer Move, Soul Explosion. Spectral Soul suddenly turned around. He endured the attacks of Lu Wei-yin and the rest as he pointed with his fingers. More than 10 black dots flew out. The black dots shot towards the top of Peaceful Soil Heavy Mountain Fortress before turning into more than 10 immemorial soul beasts. These immemorial soul beasts crashed down onto Peaceful Soil Heavy Mountain Fortress, their mountain-like bodies completely burying the immortal Gu house. At the next moment, boom! A terrifying explosion killed these immemorial soul beasts on the spot. Their sacrifices resulted in this intense explosion resembling a giant black ball. The black ball rapidly expanded. In a few breaths of time, it grew to over the size of 100 li. The earth and mountains shook. The entire battlefield started to shake intensely. Lu Wei-yin's expression changed. He immediately went away to defend the battlefield. If this battlefield broke, even if one corner of it was destroyed, the entire situation would aggravate. Spectral Soul is so crafty. He actually had such a terrifying move. Demon Immortal Qi Ju squinted. retreating to a safe distance. Soul explosion is not uncommon. It is expected that he would detonate the immemorial soul beasts, but how could he perfectly fuse the detonation of more than 10 immemorial soul beasts together like this? Oh no, I wonder how our main body is doing. Wu Shuai and Qi Si ancestor became worried. Roar. Qing Chou was also implicated and got quite injured. The greater the pain, the more maniacal it became. It did not care about anything, it attacked Spectral Soul again. Wu Shuai and Qi Si ancestor had to follow suit. They could not allow Spectral Soul to absorb Qing Chou's strength. After using this move, Spectral Soul also turned pale. Against Qing Chou's assault, he focused on defense while trying to recover. It was evident that the move earlier consumed a huge amount of his mental energy. In truth, this soul explosion was very costly. Immemorial soul beasts had rank 8 battle strength. Spectral Soul expended more than 10 of them at once. I wonder how peaceful Soil Heavy Mountain Fortress is now. Demon Immortal Qi Ju approached Fong Yuan. As the dust clouds faded away, peaceful Soil Heavy Mountain Fortress appeared in everyone's vision again. They saw that this Earth Path Immortal Gu house was 30% shorter. The surface seemed damaged but no holes were created. Demon Immortal Qi Ju squinted as he sighed internally. This Immortal Gu house's defense is likely the highest of all Immortal Gu houses that currently exist. Immortal Killer Move, Accumulated Soil Mountain. Within the Immortal Gu house, Fong Yuan injected Immortal Essence as he activated the Core Killer Move. Countless Earth Path Gu worms flew up in Sovereign Immortal Aperture, entering the Immortal Gu house. After 3 breaths of time, not only did peaceful Soil Heavy Mountain Fortress recover fully, its appearance also changed. Instead of being round like before, it became more like a tower now. There were edges and sharp corners. This? Even someone like Demon Immortal Qi Ju stared at this with wide eyes. He felt a little empty internally. This was too shameless. Not only did peaceful Soil Heavy Mountain Fortress have high defense, its recovery speed was also this fast. In the current world, most Immortal Gu houses could not be easily repaired. When replenishing Gu worms, those positions were usually fixed. It was also not as easy as placing Gu worms into these specific positions. There was usually a need to use special Gu worms or killer moves to achieve this. Immortal Gu houses were a type of mobile immortal formation. To repair Immortal Gu houses or immortal formations, one had to consider the influence that these actions would have on the main structure. But peaceful Soil Heavy Mountain Fortress was different. Looking at one example. Repairing other Immortal Gu houses was like stacking a Jenga tower. The Gu Immortals had to put specific Gu worms into specific holes. During this process, the Gu Immortal had to use methods to stabilize the tower while placing the Gu worms to try to prevent it from toppling. But peaceful Soil Heavy Mountain Fortress was the opposite. Because the core was made of immortal killer moves, no matter how many Earth Path Gu worms Fong Yuan put in, they could easily merge with the tower and have great stability. In fact, they could even alter the properties of the tower. Demon Immortal Qi Ju and Spectral Soul spent so long dealing with peaceful Soil Heavy Mountain Fortress, they had finally gotten some information about it. Yet after Fong Yuan's modifications, the entire fortress was different than before. Spectral Soul and Qi Ju's probe had to start all over again. How do we fight this? Similar thoughts emerged in the minds of Demon Immortal Qi Ju and Spectral Soul. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible.